Good morning and welcome to the Mike Graham Show. It's Friday. It's the 30th of January, which means, and I know you're going to think that I'm sounding ridiculous here, but it means it's nearly February. Day after tomorrow will be the 1st of February. This is our 4-week anniversary. This is at the end of our 4th week of broadcasting. We've been doing incredibly well. Thanks to all of you. We have hit the biggest numbers, I think, this week than we've ever done. We've been hitting 70, 75,000 pretty much every single day, watching all along. We've got Plank of the Week coming out tonight, 7 o'clock. We've got also the Plonk of the Week coming out on Saturday, which is me basically drinking as much champagne as possible and trying to remain sober, which is very good. I'm delighted to say that this morning we are joined in the studio by Lucy White. Lucy, very good morning to you.
Hi Mike, good morning. Great to be here again.
Very nice to see you. A happy 30th of January day.
Happy Friday.
It's also, what is it called? Pooch, what are we doing here? Is it Happy Go to Work Day or something?
National Fun Day.
National Fun at Work Day. I don't know what that means. I don't know what it's going to mean. But I suspect we should keep our clothes on and not do anything terrible. But if you've got any ideas as to how we should celebrate National Happy Fun at Work Day, do let us know. I'm going to draw a moustache on Keir Starmer. I think that's probably the best thing I can do. How about that? There we are. There you go. That's what he looks like. That's Keir Starmer with a moustache. What do you think? Keir Starmer in China.
Yeah.
What a complete plonker this man is.
Oh gosh.
He's gone to China, right? We've got a little video of Keir Starmer in China telling us all what a great job he's doing. Have a look at this.
We finished this morning's meetings and now I'm visiting the Forbidden City. Very good meeting with President Xi, where we agreed to strengthen our relationship, open up more opportunities for our businesses, for our culture and our sports. And of course, the key question always for me is, does this deliver back at home? And it's delivering business, wealth, prosperity and jobs. Not done yet. We've got more meetings here in Beijing today and tomorrow morning. Then we're off to Shanghai with exactly the same intention, which is to open up those opportunities.
See, that's typical of a politician, right? He thinks it's a success to have a meeting. Right? He's going, I've got more meetings to do. We've done some meetings and the meetings have been very successful and we've got more meetings. And he says they're going to have jobs coming through. He's not bringing any jobs to Britain.
No.
What's he doing?
Oh no, he's just a national embarrassment. Everywhere
really
he
is.
goes, he just embarrasses the British people.
Yeah. He does. And he's upset Donald Trump as well. We'll play a clip of Donald Trump in a minute as well. But I mean, the front page of Daily Mail today, is that it? Which I think is a very good summation of basically where we are. Because it says, Sir Kowtow Starmer gave the go-ahead to China's Nest of Spies embassy, then flew 5,000 miles to suck up to them. Yesterday he announced a deal so underwhelming that critics responded, is that it? Is that all there is? Because he's not really done anything.
No, I mean, I think he managed to halve tariffs on whiskey exports from 10% to 5%. That appears to be about it. But I think the issue of this super embassy is quite alarming.
Yeah.
The current one, if you've seen it, it's down Portland Place. It's quite close to the Kenyan embassy. It's situated on a corner and there are always security men outside. So it's already quite a secure building. So I dread to think what this new one's going to be like.
The new one is going to have something like 208 rooms beneath the surface of the road where people can be tortured, people can be interrogated.
Yeah.
All sorts of badness can go on, and nobody will know anything about what's happening.
No.
And the idea that we've just sort of said tick the box and go, yeah, all right, China, brilliant. Ever since he arrived there yesterday, all he's done is suck up to President Xi, who is, by all accounts and by any measure, one of the worst dictators in the world. Yeah,
absolutely. Goodness me, it's. And then we have this whole sort of Jimmy Lai situation of Jimmy Lai is in prison and he's been sentenced to life, and Keir Starmer was urged to, for the release of Jimmy Lai.
Yes.
But of course, that's not going to happen because Starmer is just too wet and he's a poor negotiator. So he just went, probably raised his name once and said, tick that, I've mentioned his name. Yeah. Now it looks like I've actually tried to release him from prison.
Exactly. Now, a couple of people are asking the question, where is the heron? Amongst them, Lord Viking. Now, you can see, if you're watching, the heron has been placed behind Lucy, actually. And one of the reasons we did that is that somebody mentioned it to me yesterday, and it was actually quite a clever piece of information, was that when it was behind us over here, you couldn't really see it very well. Whereas now, over there, it stands out much better. on a black background, isn't it?
It's beautiful.
Isn't it lovely?
It is.
I mean, we like a heron here at the Mike Graham Show because we feel that it represents a new beginning. It represents creativity. It represents all sorts of good things. Rather than bad things. So we're very happy about the heron. Poor Mr. Greenhall, long hair, whole hair. What was that? No, it doesn't make any sense. Morning, Mike, a pooch and guest. The guest is Lucy White. It's not just guest, please get the name right.
I'll put the name up.
Starmer is a fried rice asset, says Capricorn Moon. Steve says, Mike, new viewer, no more BBC Breakfast or Good Morning Britain. You are on my list now. Good show. Well, this is why we're, absolutely buzzing up the charts of popularity because the BBC now is absolute and utter crap, isn't it?
I can't express how much I dislike the BBC, and the fact that they expect you to pay £174 for a TV licence is just absurd when they just spew lies all the time.
Yeah.
I was actually saying on the front page of The Telegraph this morning, there is an extract that says the BBC has been urged to stop tick-boxing diversity because it's shoehorning ethnic minorities into period dramas.
Oh, yeah.
So the BBC is essentially trying to skew history by bringing ethnic minorities who wouldn't have even been in our country at the time of, say, some of these
like
fantastic
Elizabethan
novels.
times or something, right?
Yep. So the BBC are trying to skew our history, trying to tell us that, for example, these migrants have always been here, and yet they expect us to pay our TV licence for all their lives. It's
so
just
they'll be
insane.
doing. What you'll get on the BBC is you have a sort of documentary based around the Great Fire of London, which took place in Samuel Pepys' day, and the bloke running the shop at the corner happens to be from Pakistan, and you go, actually, no, that's not really what it was like.
Yeah, well, for example, currently on BBC iPlayer, I believe there is Pride and Prejudice, if anyone wishes to watch that.
Oh, yeah.
And if you actually watch it, because it was filmed over 20 years ago before the world went woke, there are just English people in Pride and Prejudice, as it was at the time.
As it was written, funnily enough.
Before it went woke.
Yes,
so.
I know. It is extraordinary, isn't it? Lots and lots of good stories in the papers this morning. The Mail we've done. The Times has got a story saying the Iranian Guard Corps to be treated as terrorists by UK. I'd nominate this as the worst headline of the day because it makes no sense. And headlines, I used to write headlines because I used to be a newspaper man. And headlines actually are supposed to sum up a story and make it simple for people to see a story and go, oh, I understand what that means. Iranian Guard Corps to be treated as terrorists by UK doesn't mean anything to me. But what it does mean is the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC in Iran, apparently are now going to be nominated as terrorists, which, according to what I was listening to this morning, is going to mean that an awful lot of diplomats are very nervous because they won't be able to talk to the Iranians without kicking them out of the country. Well, that seems like a good idea to me, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, my only doubt is that it's the Home Office that is preparing this legislation, and I have absolutely no faith in the Home Office. So let's see what actually happens there. And what was interesting in one of the other papers this morning, we have a US Air Force plane which has landed in Suffolk in the RAF Mildenhall.
Okay.
RAF base
Mildenhall.
there.
Yeah, I know it well.
So yes, so that's in Suffolk. So currently there's a US Air Force plane in Britain, which is quite telling of the increased tensions. So let's see if the US wants to strike a deal of no nuclear weapons with Iran.
Right.
But I think we just have to sit tight and see how this development.
I think RAF Mildenhall is where Will Geddes is here actually, and we'll ask him in the next hour. RAF Mildenhall, I think, was where the Americans launched their attack on Libya from. If you remember, was the years ago when Muammar Gaddafi was still in charge of Libya, and they took off for RAF Mildenhall, and the French wouldn't let them fly over French airspace, so they had to go all the way down sort of Bay of Biscay and turn left because the French were like, no, you cannot, you cannot fly over our airspace.
Je ne veux pas.
Je ne regrette rien, because they wouldn't take part in it. How about this one though? Front page of the Sun, Times rather. Judges rule baldness is a disability for women. When asked to adjudicate between the taxman and wig makers, judges have gone with their heads. The owners of a company that makes specialist hair extensions for women has successfully argued its way out of a six-figure VAT bill after a tribunal argued that baldness was a disability. I mean, it would be wrong of me to say, have you ever worn hair extensions? I don't really understand hair extensions. Do you know what they are? I mean, have you ever tried them?
Oh, no, I absolutely have never tried hair extensions. But I think this idea...
How does it work? Do you just glue them on or something?
I don't know. I think girls go to salons and have them sort of glued to their heads.
Right.
I don't honestly. I don't know exactly how it works. Never seen it. But in terms of this idea of going bald is a disability, I think that's just a natural. I wouldn't say it's a disability. It's just a medical condition. But it's not necessarily a disability.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a man and you go bald, everybody just goes, so you don't have any hair. It's no big deal. But I suppose if you're a woman. Sarah Vine, the columnist for the Daily Mail, has made a big thing of the fact that she's been going bald for a while, and she feels really quite kind of
conscious, and
unhappy about it, you know. And now she's finally kind of come out and admitted it. She's like, you know, now I can sort of, you know, finally, you know, face myself in the mirror in the mornings. But yeah, I don't get it. According to this is a story about Mark Sharp and Glenn Kinsey, a former children's TV presenter and magician, claimed HM Revenue and Customs had wrongly charged them $277,000 on sales of their Kinsey system wigs, for which they charged $2,500 annual fee for fitting and maintenance. So it's a tax case at the end of the day. So I guess if you can get away with not paying tax on the grounds that you've gone bald, I think that's a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think the issue of today is anything these days is classed as a disability. Some people will, there are some genuine disabilities, but many people will use it to their advantage. It could be, they have a disability, so they get extra time in school tests, or they get transport to the school. Then you have a never-ending loop, which puts pressure on the taxpayers. So what's a genuine disability and what is one for personal gain, you know, to cheat the system? That's a very fine line.
Who can say? We talked earlier about Keir Starmer in China. Let's have a look at what Donald Trump had to say when he was asked yesterday about whether Keir Starmer was doing the right thing.
What do you think about the UK getting into business with China? Keir Starmer was in Beijing.
Well, it's very dangerous for them to do that, and it's even more dangerous, I think, for Canada to get into business with China. Canada is not doing well. They're doing very poorly. And you can't look at China as the answer. I know China very well. I know President Xi's a friend of mine. I know him very well. But that's a big hurdle to go over when you get Canada. The first thing they're going to do is say you're not allowed to play ice hockey anymore. That's not good. Canada's not going to play.
Donald Trump has got some interesting hair, hasn't he?
Yes.
I don't want to say it's a wig. This super chat from Something Wickedly said Green Party candidate is wigged up. Is that Zach Polanski you're talking about? Do you think he's got a wig? I don't know.
Or Melissa Polton. This is the transgender candidate in the upcoming election against Matt
I saw somebody on the train yesterday. I was on the train yesterday going out for dinner with my friend Donald McLeod, who was here, and I was heading off to Leicester Square, and this bloke on the train had this sort of flourishing hair. I mean, it wasn't a wig. I think it was just growing his hair. And it just looked really well. He stood up. He was about 6'2". And I just thought, what is going on? You know, trying to be a woman, I suppose. There's a poll out today. What's the poll issue? Have you got it? Can you put it up for us, Pooch? He's going to put it up in a minute. I've already forgotten what it is.
I'll come back to it.
I'll come back to it. There you go. Apparently, 13 minutes past 7. Also, here's a good one for you. You'll like this one, Lucy. AI chatbots, according to a piece in the Mail, are left wing.
Oh gosh.
So when you go on to what's it called? ChatGPT. It's more likely to use The Guardian as a source of news than any other, news outlet, right? So it says here, AI chatbots are more likely to source answers to questions about the news from left-wing sources such as The Guardian, according to the Institute for Public Policy Research. Tools used by millions are drawing on a narrow and inconsistent range of sources. So The Guardian came top for ChatGPT and Google Gemini, appearing in 58% and 53% of answers. Meanwhile, the Daily Mail and other right-leaning publications appeared in only a small fraction of answers, despite having a substantial combined market share of the UK audience.
Well, I wouldn't even say the Daily Mail is necessarily right-wing.
Well, it's more right-wing than The Guardian, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I just say that because they also did a hit piece on me.
Yes, well,
but,
quite.
I think, the issue is in general these days, everything seems to be left-wing propaganda.
Yeah.
So it's almost no surprise that these AI chatbots are more left-wing leaning.
Yes.
I think you have to I think Grok might be more
Grok is a bit more
trustworthy.
sensible, it's a bit more right-wing because it is run by, obviously, Elon Musk and X. I think we've got our own poll now. Let's have a look and see what it is, Favourite testicleless world politician, Giorgia Meloni, Marine Le Pen, Melania Trump, or Keir Starmer.
But that was a very clear win there.
Keir Starmer's winning with 66% because he has no balls. This is a bloke, right? Why don't we just play it again? Him in Beijing, right? Talking about we're going to have some meetings with the Chinese leader. Have a look.
We finished this morning's meetings and now I'm visiting the Forbidden City. Very good meeting with President Xi, where we agreed to strengthen our relationship, open up more opportunities for our businesses, for our culture and our sports. And of course, the key question always for me is, does this deliver back at home? And it's delivering business, wealth, prosperity and jobs. Not done yet. We've got more meetings here in Beijing today and tomorrow morning. Then we're off to Shanghai with exactly the same intention, which is to open up those opportunities.
And just try and whack it.
I mean, how is it delivering business, jobs and prosperity to Britain? How is anything that he's doing delivering any of that?
No, it doesn't. Of course it
It's
doesn't.
complete bollocks, I'm sorry. It just is. It's rubbish.
The only reason we rely on China is for our supply chains, because they essentially process everything and ship it over to us. But they're not going to give us... I don't know what he's referring to here.
I mean, how are we getting jobs from anything that he's doing currently in China? How are we getting prosperity? And how are we getting business?
Well,
I don't see it.
The only way we would get prosperity in business is if we diversify our supply chains away from China and we cut them out of our supply chain. That's the only way it would probably benefit us, actually.
I know. It's absolutely extraordinary. Let's have a look at some of the other stories that are in the papers today. On the front page of the Telegraph, basically they're saying that they've got a problem now over the cancelled elections. Page 1 of the Telegraph this morning says this, that there's something like, where are we? Let me just see if I can find it. Revolt over cancelled elections. The government's plans descend into farce as a string of councillors have resigned over the fact that all of these votes in various different parts of the country have been cancelled. I think it's 4.6 million people now who are not going to be able to vote, which is a shocking state of affairs, isn't it?
It is shocking, but again, nothing surprises me anymore in this country. It's absolutely awful. These people are trying to cling on to power, and they know that they're going to lose their seats in the May 7th elections, and therefore they refuse to hold elections. But that just shows that actually they are so weak that they have resulted to going against democracy. So one minute these lefties are all for democracy, but when it comes to them losing power, they will just grip onto it.
Exactly right. According to the piece in the Telegraph, councillors have launched a revolt after Labour cancelled all these elections. Norfolk County Council, one of Britain's biggest, has been hit by resignations in protest over the election delays. Meanwhile, the leader of Welwyn Hatfield Council stood down after a backlash over postponed voting drove its ruling coalition to the brink of collapse. In Essex, the same thing has happened. They announced on Thursday that it will hold a vote after all, which is good news. Earlier this month, Labour announced plans to deny millions of people the vote, leaving some having no say over who controls their local services and council tax for up to 7 years.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah. I also read that the Telegraph, I believe, they're launching a campaign, the Campaign for Democracy it's called, where ministers should be stripped of their legal powers to cancel local elections without a full vote in Parliament.
Really?
Yeah, and we've seen that some councillors are resigning, which can force a by-election on the 7th of May. Yeah, as I say, nothing really surprises me with this country anymore. I think democracy hasn't been working here for a long time.
No.
And this is just one example of many, unfortunately.
And they basically ignore the people, don't they? You know, because, for example, we voted to leave the European Union. We've now got Keir Starmer trying to get us back into it on the basis that, we have to have closer ties to the European Union because that's what people would deserve. We've got a new piece of video which has just come in, I think, of him being manhandled by the Chinese. Have a look. Have we got it? Or maybe we haven't got it. He doesn't even know how to walk. The guy is a literal disaster. He doesn't even, I mean, he's on the wrong side of the red carpet. He gets pushed aside by the bloke from the Communist Party. Absolutely unbelievable, isn't it? This from Just Josh. Bollocks is a versatile British slang term ranging from vulgar to humorous, primarily meaning nonsense, rubbish or testicles. Yeah, thanks, mate. I know what it means, Josh. That's why I said it, because it's very clear that whatever Keir Starmer says is inevitably exactly that. A couple of other stories to talk to you about. The Bayeux Tapestry is on its way here. I don't know if you knew that. And apparently we're paying something like 800 million quid to insure it. They're now worried in France that the potholes in this country are so bad that the Bayeux Tapestry could literally disintegrate as it's being driven up the road.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Because, apparently any kind of vibration to a minimum of something like 2 millimetres could make it just turn to dust. Because it's so old, right? Because it's from the 11th century, obviously. But according to Emmanuel Macron, the French president, he's basically said that the depiction of the Battle of Hastings is set to go on display at the British Museum next year. But conservationists in France have filed documents that call on judges to cancel the deal to protect the artwork, which is 230 feet long, because they worry about the vibrations and shocks on the road to London, because the roads are so bad.
Yeah, just from start to end, all of this it's almost like a parody. You just,
isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But there are certain ways to store and move particular artwork, such as certain temperature-controlled rooms,
Yes.
etc. But I think the state of the roads, I would have to look more into that. But it just seems, like I say, it's almost a parody.
Yeah, I know.
But also, what I wanted to say was, we had this news of Shahid Butt, a convicted Islamist terrorist who tried to blow up the British consulate in
Nice
Yemen
man.
and has now been able to stand in elections in Britain.
He's a councillor, isn't he?
Yeah.
How's that possible?
Well, exactly. How's that possible? So when we talked earlier about Iran and the sort of designating the IRGC as a terrorist group, we then have actual terrorists in our country who are running in our politics. So you just think, again...
Shouldn't there be some kind of rule that says if you've been convicted of a crime, you can't be a councillor? Regardless of the crime, whether it's theft, whether it's, armed robbery, whether it's, killing somebody with a car or being a terrorist, you shouldn't be allowed to be a councillor, should you?
You shouldn't be allowed, but particularly being a terrorist, I mean, that's just... They shouldn't even be in the country. They should be in prison, or they should just, again, not be in our country because they are a genuine threat.
Yeah.
That hate Britain. There's so many people that
And who's
hate
going to vote
Britain.
for this character?
Well, the Muslim bloc, I'm sure,
Right.
sort of sectarian voting, as we see. I mean, with this upcoming by-election, we know that what's interesting is there's a transgender candidate for the Greens, I believe, Melissa Poulton, who is bringing in the Muslim vote.
Is that in the same constituency?
No, sorry, not the same. No, but I mean, I'm just talking about how absurd our voting is that the Muslim bloc are now said to be supporting a transgender candidate for the Green Party. Yeah, this is the one against Matt Goodwin. So, it's sort of him versus...
up in Gorton, up in Manchester, yeah.
Yes, versus the sectarian voting bloc.
Yeah, I know. Very weird stuff. Speaking of the North, piece in the Sun today, Leeds store owners in despair as it becomes the UK's theft capital. Apparently it says that Leeds is now the city with so much shoplifting, even Greggs has a lock on the fridge, right? And it says, I've been told off by police for manhandling thieves, chucking them out and getting my stuff back. They say I can't do that, but why not? This is my business, I need to protect it. They're quoting from a local shop owner, obviously, up there. Basically, Leeds has become the shoplifting capital of Britain. If you live in Leeds, we'd love to hear from you, because I don't know why that is. I really don't know. Salsi says we have terrorists running in local elections. Well, Lucy just told us that story. Absolutely right.
Well, I'm pretty sure I read that the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, has removed the cap of theft. So before, I believe you had to steal over £200 worth of goods before the police could get involved.
Yeah, I think so.
And I believe I've read that she's now removed that. So if you steal anything, even if it's worth, I don't know, £10, I think the police can now investigate. So there has been a slight change to this. But again, the issue is, if you're a shopkeeper, we often see these videos of you have security guard, but the security will watch on as the thieves plunder a store and walk away because they're not allowed to intervene. So the question is, what's the point of having security guards then if they can't do anything?
If they can't do anything, or if they won't do anything, yeah, absolutely right. Somebody's pointing out that I think the party political candidate up in Gorton is not who you say, it's Hannah Spencer, not the transgender member, but maybe the transgender member's running somewhere else. Mike and Lucy have a really relaxed connection, it says here, and perfect for early morning chats. Hope you two work together more, they say.
Oh,
well, that's
great.
quite nice, isn't
Thank you.
Please don't, hang on, I've got another a super chat here. This is from Rock Family. Please don't play any more Starmer. I'm trying to wake up and go to work so I can help pay for those who are not working. Well, funnily enough, because it is National Have Fun at Work Day, we're going to be talking about this a bit later on, because we're going to do a plank of the day, and we're going to make the plank of the day Sadiq Khan, because so many people wake up in the morning, get dressed, get in the shower, get out to work, get in the car, get in the van, and get on their way. And we see it particularly in the early mornings, because we get up in the very early morning, and Pooch comes in at 5 o'clock, even earlier. I come in at 6 o'clock. And you see people at petrol stations, you see people at bus stops, you see people waiting to go to work, trying to keep this country going, paying taxes, as everybody does at this time of year. And all we really get in return is this complete and utter plonker, Keir Starmer, in China, talking about how our saving jobs, prosperity, blah, blah, blah. He's taken 60 people with him, right? And some of them have not even got a company to be attached to. He's taken the head of the Natural History Museum. He's taken the head of Museum Scotland. He's taken the mayor of the West Midlands. It's like, why are you taking all these bozos to China at our expense to bring back nothing at all of any value?
No. Again, I have absolutely no words for this man. I don't know who is advising him on this. I don't know who in number 10 thought that would be a good idea. But absolutely useless. Completely
useless. Let's have a look at Matt Goodwin. As you said, he's standing in Gorton and Denton up in Manchester for the Reform Party. Here's what he had to say for himself yesterday.
I'm in Denton today talking to local people because there are lots of HMOs in this area, homes for multiple occupants, homes that are full of illegal migrants, asylum seekers and criminals, homes that should have gone to the hard-working British people, to the people of Gorton and Denton, but they've gone to people who are often breaking our laws. Now, the Labour Party will tell you that talking about this is divisive, talking about this is toxic. I can't think of anything that's more divisive than forcing illegal migration and HMOs on communities like this one. I can't think of anything that's more toxic than treating your own people like second-class citizens. It's absolutely outrageous to me that companies like Serco are coming into communities like this, are using the British people's own money. They are using taxpayers' money to outbid the British people in their own housing market. How is that fair? And it's the Labour Party that signed off on this. It's absolutely outrageous. We need to put the people of Gorton and Denton first. We need to put the British people first. We need to do what Reform UK is saying. We need to stop the boats, fix the borders and sort out our country. If you vote for Reform UK on February the 26th at this by-election, you will get Keir Starmer out. Vote Reform, get Starmer out.
Vote Reform, get Starmer out is his message. But his other message is that, you know, why is there so many houses of multiple occupancy in that particular constituency in Gorton, up in there in Manchester? You know, all of these immigrants who come to this country, which one shouldn't be here, who two are allowed to stay here, and funnily enough, are given free housing. It's extraordinary, isn't it?
It is extraordinary. Yeah, they should be, you know, detained and deported. They shouldn't be given social housing, especially when there are Brits that need housing. And yes, apologies, it is Hannah Spencer that is the Green Party candidate. I had seen a few posts yesterday about Melissa Poulton, but that could... it seems that 19 hours ago they have announced Hannah Spencer as the Green Party candidate. But I think it could be sort of, a parody to say that this Melissa Poulton transgender. But speaking of transgender, just quickly, on the front cover of the Telegraph, we also saw that Hampstead Heath, the ladies' pond, pond will be open to transgender people. So, you know, this is...
It's good news for Kevin O'Sullivan, who lives up there, I happen to know. He's very close to there. No, just joking. But yeah, I mean, again, women having their space invaded by men, basically, who are pretending to be women. Yeah,
but the issue is that there is literally a mixed pond. There's a men's pond, a women's pond, and a mixed pond. Yeah. So why should the ladies' pond be compromised?
Yeah, right.
It's ridiculous.
It makes no sense. Why can the men who want to dress as women not go in the mixed pond? They're insisting that they should be allowed to go in the women's pond, even though they're not women.
Yep.
And you can tell they're not women because they've got cocks, I'm sorry to say. It's as simple as that. You know, if you have male genitalia, you're not a woman. Sorry. Another story to mention, page 10 of the Daily Mail. Labour has freed nearly 50,000 prisoners early under its new soft justice programme. According to this, figures from the Ministry of Justice showed that 48,931 offenders were let out of prison in the scheme's first year from September 2024. The Labour government seems to think that the best way to deal with overcrowded prisons is to just let people out.
Yeah, well,
Great.
as we know, they should stop arresting people for social media posts or small issues that when you have genuine criminals, if you release them early, they often go on to reoffend or commit further crimes because they haven't done their full time.
Yeah.
But again, this Labour Party is just, it's a parody. The whole thing is just a clown show.
It is. Also, here's another one for you. The number of sex offences reported to police has jumped to a record high. 214,816 sex crimes recorded last year from the Office for National Statistics, up 8% year on year, equivalent to 588 incidents every single day, with the highest ever number of recorded rapes being 74,265. That's awful, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I believe there are some statistics that every either 54 or 57 minutes in London, i.e. about 1 hour, there is a rape reported in London or a sexual assault.
Yeah.
So London is the rape capital of Europe now, they call it.
Yeah.
And obviously what's changed in recent years that has allowed that to happen is because we've now imported men into our country from different cultures where rape and sexual assault, yes, they are probably more part of their culture back in their home countries, but they come here and they think that's okay to do.
Yeah, I know. Shocking, absolutely shocking. Lifting the cap on thefts won't encourage the security guards to stop the thieves, says Jib. It's the threat of being prosecuted for stopping the thieves that prevents security doing their jobs. Robin de Hood on the Super Chat says, like, subscribe and enjoy. Please do like the channel, subscribe to the channel. We're doing really well. We've got something like 126,000 subscribers now, but we would like more, so please do join in the fun and recommend it to other people. Final story in The Sun. If I was to propose marriage to you, which I'm not suggesting I'm going to, I could go to Asda and buy a diamond engagement ring for 96 pence. You probably wouldn't thank me for that, would you?
No, well...
If I was to say to you, look, how about this, right? Page 23, where are we?
Let's see this.
96p for the ring.
It sounds like you could buy a Haribo jelly sweet for that price.
Yeah. Asda's making a fun-loving proposal for Valentine's Day for a diamond engagement ring for just 96p. The supermarket chain's George-branded band features a fake gemstone and even undercuts Poundland's offering, which is, of course, only £1. I mean, if somebody gave you a ring worth 96 pence, you'd presumably chuck it out the window, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well,
you'd go, no thanks.
Of course. That's very interesting. I don't understand. Maybe it's because so many people are rejected from their proposal that at least they don't have to waste thousands of pounds and they just wasted 96 pence, I guess. But yeah, you may as well buy some Haribo jelly sweet rings for that. It might at least be a bit more original than this fake. Well, you may as well go to an arcade and pick that out from a machine. From
one of those machines that you kind of you get the old fork down on. One shopper said in an online bargain forum, "You don't want to lose expensive rings. Propose with this and let them choose the proper ring." Ah. I suppose there's something to be said for that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's like a token so that they can go. But that's only on the condition that they actually then get to pick a nice ring.
Yes.
They don't want to be stuck with that one forever. Well, they'll probably go swimming and it will turn green from the chlorine or something.
Very possibly so, yeah. Couples apparently are waiting longer than ever to get married, which has been partly blamed on soaring bills and rampant inflation. The average age for men to get married is 34.8 years. Typical woman reaches 33 before getting married. So you've got plenty of time, haven't you?
Yes. Well, I think obviously nowadays, we've seen shifts of everything. You know, my parents' generation, most of them, that generation would have got married in their 20s. Yeah. But now you have women working in careers, etc., etc. Everything has been pushed back, even sort of fertility or having children.
Yeah.
So I think that's also something that we see as an issue in the UK, or the native British birth rate. It needs to increase. And Elon Musk actually is, funnily enough, always talking about this, about birth rates.
Well, he's done very well for himself.
He's
got
14,
about
15
kids or something
40,
ridiculous.
Yeah.
I know, extraordinary. Amazing. Anyway, listen, Lucy, great to see you.
Great
Thank you very
to
much
see you, Mike.
indeed.
Good
Lucy
morning.
White there with a look through some of the stories in the papers this morning. Will Geddes is going to join us very shortly to tell us all about how dangerous Keir Starmer's trip to China actually is. That's what Donald Trump suggested it is. Dangerous. That was his words. We'll be playing you a couple of other clips as well. We'll be exploring why Leeds is now the capital of theft in this country. A nice super chat there from Simon. Thank you very much indeed for the tenner. And of course, we will bring you Plank of the Day, and it's all coming after the news with Edward Hughes.
Good morning, it's Friday 30th of January. I'm Edward Hughes and I'm living it large. Here is the news for today. Prime Minister Keir Starmer wrapped up a high-profile visit to Beijing, securing key deals with China, including visa-free travel for British citizens, up to 30 days, and tariff reductions on UK whisky exports. He thought it was high-profile. We all thought he looked like a weapons-grade weapon. He described the talks with President Jinping as a reset in relations, emphasising economic benefits and market access, despite a sharp warning from US President Donald Trump, who called deeper UK-China business ties very dangerous amid his broader trade and containment stance toward Beijing. In domestic news, UK business confidence dipped slightly amid economic uncertainty. Are you listening, Richard III? Immigration officers faced court charges over allegedly stealing cash from small boat migrants. 5 former traders won the right to appeal historic LIBOR rate rigging convictions. Elsewhere, stroke cases are reportedly rising across the country, prompting health alerts. Weather-wise, much of the UK faces unsettled, wet and windy conditions today. A busy day in diplomacy and domestic headlines. Stay tuned for developments. Please remember to like and subscribe. Laters, Tigers.
I'm Mike Graham, and this is the Mike Graham Show. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is free, it doesn't cost you any money whatsoever. But if some of you, of course, don't like the adverts, we can always give you a way around that. What you can do is you can sign up for YouTube Premium, which means you'll watch it ad-free, or you can join our Substack, which is themikegrahamshow.com. And for £1 a week, you basically get to watch the show completely ad-free every single morning from 7 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. And it does really, really help us if you like the YouTube channel and if you subscribe to it as well. And that doesn't cost you a penny. So you can do that and push our subscription numbers up. We're already hitting over 5 million views. We've got 126,000 subscribers already, but we want to make that bigger and bigger and bigger because that really does help the channel. The adverts that do appear, of course, on YouTube are put there by YouTube, not by us. There may come a time when we schedule ads so that we know exactly when they're coming in, but do forgive us if you're watching the show and the adverts do come on. But as I say, we really, really want your support. We really, really value it. And if you can join our Substack for £1 a month, that would be great. If you just want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, that would also be great. Have we got any other messages, Pooch, for the good people? What they get on Substack is they'll get a little video from me every day about what I'm up to. Yesterday, I was on a tube train, and I'll tell you all about what happened then. Quite an interesting story. You'll also get little blogs. You might get an occasional recipe from me as well, maybe at least once a week. We're going to try and do that. And all sorts of other goodies that nobody else will see if they're not part of the Substack community. So do sign up to it, themikegrahamshow.com. Do sign up and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. It doesn't take any time at all. It doesn't cost you anything, but it pushes our numbers up and it really helps the channel. So thank you very much for your support so far. We're looking forward to going into our 5th week very soon. The first month of the Mike Graham Show has been a great success. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to Pooch. Thanks to Charlotte, who puts it all together behind the scenes. And we'll see you every single morning right here, Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. And there you are. There you have it. You can see that now was recorded the other day when I was wearing a red tie. Today I'm not wearing a red tie. Today I'm wearing a... What would you call this tie? Will Geddes is here. Hello.
That's lilac, isn't it?
Is it lilac?
I think it's lilac.
I'll go with lilac. Yeah, I like it. And I'll show you. And maybe what I'll do from now on is I'll show you who made the tie. This is a Boss one.
Yes, they have quite a prestigious history, don't they?
They do.
Of making...
Steady. Yes, obviously they used to make uniforms. We'll talk about that in a minute. But listen, let's do Plank of the Day.
Hello, it's Plank of the Day time.
And I were talking this morning because he comes in from a fair distance away, right? Probably about 35, 40 minutes away every single day. He drives in. An hour. I'm doing him a disservice. I come in about 15, 20 minutes from where I am. We both drive. And one of the things that I notice is I go to a petrol station every morning to pick up the papers and to pick up occasionally some croissants if I'm feeling a little bit hungover or I'm feeling a little bit hungry. And there's always a couple of people filling up their cars with petrol, people who work early in the morning, people who have got, jobs to do, they've got taxes to pay, they've got mouths to feed, right? And it struck me that, whenever you go out and about in the early hours of the morning, whether it's 5 o'clock, whether it's 4 o'clock, whether it's 6 o'clock, You see people in white vans. You see people in cars, which are not expensive cars, but because they're, obviously going off to work. And it struck me that, the politicians of this country take these people for granted. Sadiq Khan, for example, will be sitting there in his very well upholstered house, no doubt, paid for by the taxpayer, getting his breakfast made for him, sitting up in his very cosy little duvet-inspired room, and he will be looking to fine you for everything that you do. Put your tyres into a bus lane. Oh, yes, that's £100 fine. Parking for maybe 1 minute over the time that you were supposed to park. That's another £100 fine. Going 23 miles an hour in a 20 mile an hour zone. That's another £100 fine. And it struck me that the plank of the day today, on all days of Friday, the 30th of January, should be Sadiq Khan, because he is a man who basically picks on ordinary individuals who are out there struggling, trying to make ends meet, trying to do the best thing they can to feed their families, and trying to make as much money as they possibly can before it gets taxed up the wazoo by that man, Sadiq Khan. So today, I take my hat off to all of you good men and women, and possibly even the odd non-binary individual, who goes out and works hard and contributes to the goodness of society by doing a job that everybody needs you to do. And the scumbag that is Sadiq Khan is my plank of the day. And that's...
Hello, it's plank of the day time.
And there we have it. Will Geddes is here, International Man of Mystery, as I like to introduce you as. Good to see you, man.
You too,
Very
sir.
nice to see you.
You too,
We've got
as always.
Lots to talk about this morning.
Yeah.
China.
Yes, China.
They've said, is that it, on the front page of the Daily Mail?
Yeah.
Which I think is about right, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is.
He's gone all the way over there, and he's talking about... We had a bit of footage earlier of him saying, this is good for jobs and prosperity.
Is it, though?
What is he talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not, is it?
To be honest, we've got too many problems here, Mike, with China. China and its campaign of economic espionage,
yes.
I think, is one of our biggest problems that we've got here in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
The security services have mentioned this many a time.
Yeah.
There have been susceptibilities and vulnerabilities within the government where they've been honey-trapped, they've been extorted from, lobbyists have been infiltrated.
Well, we know they've been inside the Palace of Westminster for years, right? Even Prince Andrew was bringing Chinese people in there, right?
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of China's capabilities, certainly in terms of espionage, they are pretty darn good.
Yeah.
A lot of it is supported by technology, which is even more concerning.
Yes.
But certainly in terms of Keir Starmer and his little entourage going out to China, I'm with Trump on this. I've taken prominent people into China, and let me tell you, Mike, from the moment you do the pre-travel brief or the pre-deployment brief, if you want, and you talk about, obviously, what you can and can't do, what you can and can't say, and the various things that you have to consider when you arrive there, you would not believe. It's like going to see your strictest aunt when you were a child, and your parents giving you, a good talking to make sure you didn't upset them. The moment you arrive in country, firstly, you cannot take your own devices. You cannot take your cell phone, you can't take your laptops, your tablets, or anything like that, any technology, because it will be exploited the moment you arrive. I mean, to give you an idea, outside Beijing right now, Beijing, you've probably got in excess of 2,800 listening posts. So what happens, Mike, when you arrive and you turn your cell phone on, and you know what it's like when you arrive in a new country, you connect to the local network.
Yeah, the plane lands and it goes, welcome to wherever.
Yeah,
right?
and it says welcome to China Cell or to Vodafone or whatever it might be.
Right.
And what will happen is your phone will be immediately man-in-the-middle intercepted. So every communication you do through that device will be listened to by the government the moment you arrive. And then if you leave the country, come back in 5 years' time, your spreadsheet will fly back up onto someone's screen the moment you connect to the network again. If you've got the same sort of IMEI and you've got the same number. Yeah. So that's the first problem. Your communications are intercepted. So you have to go in with what we call sterile phones. Right. So it's a pay-as-you-go phone with nothing on there.
For the last sort of 48 hours, whenever I've heard anybody talking from China, any of the politicians and the journalists that have gone, they've all gone, oh, you've got your burner phone. So everybody's got a burner phone.
Yeah, of course, you have to, absolutely. And the SIM card should be actually acquired locally, but then it's what you talk about. Right. So firstly, you should be prepared not to speak to your loved ones, your friends, your colleagues on the phone whilst you're out there. So
Right.
you are literally in a sterile bubble. The second thing is the moment you arrive in your hotel, every head of security for every hotel in China is former MSS, domestic security.
Right.
So anything you keep in your room is going to be intercepted as well. And I remember there was one...
So does that mean even if, say, I've got an iPad and I'm working away on it, they're interrupting everything?
Oh, yeah, everything.
And they're seeing everything I'm
Absolutely.
doing?
They're going to see everything you've got.
Wow.
They've got an image of everything.
Wow.
And the next thing is that anything that you keep in your room is going to be interrogated when you leave the room. So if you put
so
something
they're
in
actually
the...
going to physically come into the room?
Oh, yeah. I had one occasion, where was I? It was in Shanghai.
Right.
And we were deploying as a protection team for a very prominent person, international person, an American actually, going in there. And I can tell you that one of the guys literally turned on tail. We were just about to leave the hotel on the convoy, ran back up to his room. There were 3 guys in his room, and he said, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And they said, "We're changing the batteries on your remote."
Yeah, of course.
So you've got that, but then you've got the physical surveillance. In your room, there's likely to be cameras as well, covert cameras. So whatever you do in your room, that's going to get captured. Okay. So literally everything is going to be surveilled while you're there. And I don't think there's enough brains within Keir Starmer or his team necessarily that they won't be having what they would call discrete debriefs after meeting certain government ministers. And they'll be going, oh, how did that go? And all of that information will be recovered by the Chinese.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what does that tell you about what it's going to be like in London when they build this super embassy in Tower Hamlets, which is going to be basically the centre of all kinds of spying activity into whatever it is that other people are doing in London, whether it's in a commercial capacity as a bank, or whether it's in a private capacity as an individual, or whether it's a politician. You know, they are going to be able to set up, it seems to me, an incredible network of spying in the heart of London.
Absolutely. And I mean, and we know about...
And we've given them permission.
Yeah, and we know about Chinese police shops, which are right across the country, which will be talking to those that are opposed to the Chinese regime and Xi Jinping. And they'll be looking at, obviously, trying to interrupt any kind of individuals, undertake and launch surveillance. Now, we know about the data cables. That was one of the biggest concerns, obviously, the proximity to data cables. Now, those are being rerouted, so obviously they can't hot tap into those data cables.
Because, I mean, that sounds to me a bit like, you know, a journalist trying to explain, you know, a very, very kind of sophisticated spyware. But in reality, it is possible, presumably, if you are in proximity to these cables, that you can tap into them.
Yeah,
right?
you can. Yeah, I mean, it's not that complicated. And if they had the ability to be able to get close to these, there's every good chance they could do it. I mean, like I said, the Chinese and their technology is unbelievable, and it's changing all the time, and it's getting better all the time. So this £1 billion embassy that they're building here, Mike, with many, many sub-levels, which is usually where all the naughty stuff goes on. Goodness knows what they're going to be launching out of there, but they're also can use this as a platform to run various agents, to run various operations, and one of the and that's not unlike every other agency. So every embassy will have its declared spies to its host, the host nation. However, there's always going to be a number of individuals that are undeclared, and there's also the diplomatic pouch capability of being able to bring in technology, bring in items, bring in information, and also send it out as well. So, you know, it's a serious concern.
Right. I mean, looking at just international kind of matters, if we may, in addition to what's going on in China today, the front page of the Times today has got this story about the Iranian Guard, the IRGC, to be treated as terrorists by the UK. Now, I was listening to, for my sins, and I forgive myself for even saying it, listening to BBC on the way into work this morning.
How dare you?
Sorry.
How dare you say that word at this time of the day?
Lapse of judgment.
People are going to be bringing up their
By the way,
frosties.
I want you to read out, because I brought this mug from home.
Oh, yeah.
I want you to read out what it says on it.
Okay, it's better to have loved and lost than to live with the psycho the rest of your life.
It was actually given to me by a woman. Anyway.
I like that. Can I keep that?
You can, because I know it will have personal memories for you.
We won't go there, Mike.
One of the things that I heard them say on the BBC this morning was that this creates a huge diplomatic problem for sort of for not so much British politicians, but certainly for MI5 and MI6, because what this basically means is that every Iranian diplomat has to be escorted from the country and sent home. It means that there can be no British embassy presence in Iran. It means that all diplomatic ties have to be broken, which for a lot of people's point of view is a bad move, because it means that we can't sort of keep an eye on them, if you like.
I think well, there's two sides to it. I mean, you want spies to run so that you can monitor them, you can undertake surveillance, you can see who their networks are, who they're connecting with, what information they're trying to gather, all that kind of good stuff. The IRGC is a terrorist organisation. We know that. I mean, even back to the days in Iraq, IRGC were running operations across the borders into Iraq to try and disrupt and undermine and sabotage and do all sorts of things against, obviously, the US and the coalition who are operating down there. The one thing I would say about the IRGC is, yes, they do need to be categorised as a terrorist organisation, but I think ahead of that, the Muslim Brotherhood need to be categorised, and we haven't done that in the UK.
Why has that
I have no idea, Mike.
Because they are categorised as a terrorist organisation in almost every country in the Middle East, right?
Correct, absolutely, and the United States. And they were involved in the Arab Spring. They have been involved in all sorts
Egypt
of...
and all of that,
right across the board. And to be honest, the Muslim Brotherhood should be addressed, and certainly with Lucy, who you were speaking with earlier, and she was talking about people who have been prosecuted for terrorist actions overseas being allowed to apply to be ministers or councilmen.
Doesn't make any sense, does it?
It doesn't make any sense to me at all, Mike. It
shouldn't
really doesn't.
be allowed.
No,
it absolutely shouldn't be allowed.
That's
of course referring to a guy who's going to stand as a councillor, I think, in Birmingham or in the Midlands somewhere, who has been a convicted terrorist, which is absolutely outrageous. Let's talk a little bit about America as well, because obviously Donald Trump. In fact, let's play the clip. Donald Trump was asked earlier exactly what he thought of Keir Starmer going to China and cozying up to the regime of President Xi.
What do you think about the UK getting into business with China? Keir Starmer was in Beijing.
Well, it's very dangerous for them to do that, and it's even more dangerous, I think, for Canada to get into business with China. Canada is not doing well. They're doing very poorly, and you can't look at China as the answer. I know China very well. I know President Xi's a friend of mine. I know him very well, but that's a big hurdle to go over when you get Canada. The first thing they're going to do is say you're not allowed to play ice hockey anymore. That's not good. Canada's not going to like it.
Donald Trump there saying very dangerous for Keir Starmer to go to China, and very dangerous for him to do what he says on the front page of the Times here, which is a Prime Minister vowing to build more sophisticated relationship with China. I mean, what a complete and utter plonker Keir Starmer is. We've got a poll, actually, which involves Keir Starmer. Let's have a quick look at it, if we can. Favourite testicleless world politician? Is it Giorgia Meloni? Is it Marine Le Pen? Is it Melania Trump? Or is it Keir Starmer?
Yeah, there you go. No surprises.
Keir Starmer absolutely winning it hands down with 67%. No balls, no brains, and literally no hope, I think is probably the best way to describe it. Let's talk a bit about Venezuela, because you said something interesting to me, and I've since read about Venezuela and the snatch squad that went in basically to take out the president, who is now serving in a prison in New York awaiting trial
with a very almost like Arkham Asylum in New York, with the number of people who are in there, from Didi right through to R. Kelly, to all sorts of people who are in there.
Nicolas Maduro, who's been taken up there. You told me, and as I say, subsequently I've read a little bit more about it, that the Americans used some incredible modern weaponry, which nobody has ever seen, and nobody could even understand. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's been I mean, there's some technology there, Mike, that even I'm not aware of. No surprises there, but there was some that they did use. And one of the reports that came out, and this was a Delta team who are the true Tier 1 operators, them and SEAL Team 6.
Right.
They went in, they were modelled off the SAS.
Right.
Their original founder came over, trained with the SAS, and learnt all the tradecraft and learnt everything to basically build Delta Force. Delta Force are hostage rescue, high-value target extractions, so they were perfect for the job. But the technology that they had was really interesting.
Yeah.
And what they used, by all accounts, is what we call sonic nausea. Now,
Right.
this has been around actually for quite a while.
Okay.
And what it is it's a low frequency emittance which can be transmitted that causes basically, as it says, nausea within you. It gives you headaches, makes you feel really uncomfortable, and can make you feel actually sick. And where it first came around, Mike, was many years ago. They would, for US embassies in various parts of the world, particularly in conflict zones and high-risk environments, they would fabricate covertly speakers into the walls of the actual embassy compound. Right. And the reason being, and particularly by the gates, because one of the biggest concerns was if they had a demonstration outside, they needed to do an evacuation. Let's say civil instability kicked off or political instability kicked off. The streets became mad. You needed to do an extraction or an evacuation out of the actual embassy. They could use this if there were massive demonstrations or big crowds outside to deploy to then disperse the crowd. And we've seen other versions of it. We saw it in Serbia during some particular protests. This was a couple of years ago, where you saw, and there are variations of this sonic nausea. There's either the sound which then just interrupts, because your body is primarily water, interrupts that whole process.
Is it something you can hear, or is it something that just you feel?
To be honest, yes. I mean, I could show you a little demo. I don't have one with you with me today.
You came in the other day with something in your pocket. I tell you what, Will is a fascinating man, right? He takes this thing out of his. He showed it to me. He took this thing. It's about that size, like a pillbox. Yeah. And he said, "Have a look at that." And it said on the front of it, "Sonic nausea." And he said, I could open it now. He said, but I don't want to make you feel sick. And I was like, well, I already feel a bit sick, actually.
I will. Next time we go out, I'll bring it.
Of the night before. But no, I mean, it's incredible, though.
But there's one that will heat the body up as well.
Wow.
So an actual sort of frequency, which will, and this is where they will, you saw on this particular footage, we'll try and dig it out. Pooch hopefully can, I'll find it for Pooch and send it over.
They're calling it a discombobulator. He just showed us the headline now.
Just literally part like the Red Sea, because your whole body feels like it's on heat. Now, the patents, some people online have been chasing the patents the US government have been getting for this kind of technology. Right. But there's other technology that I am not aware of, which was used on that particular operation as well. Because one of the things which was really kind of surprising was there was some 200 troops there. Now, a Sabre team or a Delta unit will be a pretty small team, probably about 5-6 guys that are actually deploying. And yet they were up against 200 or so soldiers in a pretty fortified location where Madura was. Yeah. And the soldiers were completely, disabled by this sonic nausea, but B, the troops were using, the Delta guys were using some weaponry, which the reports from Venezuelans was deploying something like 2,000 rounds a minute.
Wow.
I mean, what the hell they were using, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Love to know.
And when you say 2,000 rounds a minute, that's bullets? I mean, that's bullets, like a machine gun that's firing. Yeah. How much faster is that than most?
Got a lot faster.
Like an AK-47?
I couldn't tell you, but I'm sure someone in the chat will jump in there with a suggestion.
Wow.
But that's kind of chain gun sort of speed.
Right.
Yeah, that's super fast.
And that's why, basically, the Americans went in, snatched Maduro, killed a bunch of people, and just left. And
and when Trump was asked about it,
no casualties at all from the American side.
From the American side, none whatsoever. And Trump actually had a bit of a cheeky glint in his eye when he was asked about the technology that was used for such a successful, expedited operation. And I mean, and Delta were pretty darn quick at doing their job anyway. But on this particular occasion, this was extraordinarily quick. So there was some serious technology there. But Trump, had a bit of a glint in his eye and going, that's our secret. Not giving that one up.
I mean, that is extraordinary. Yeah. I've got to do this before I forget, because Donald McLeod has been down to visit. He was in with us yesterday doing Plank of the Week, and that will be out tonight, actually, at 7 p.m. Don't forget to check in with that. But he wants me to remind everybody that the new Purple Celebration show is available tonight at the Shepherd's Bush Empire Prince Tribute Band, right? We went to see them yesterday in the Pizza Express sort of Holborn.
Not the one in Reading.
Not the one in Reading, no, not where Prince Andrew goes. Or was it Woking? Wokingham, I think, where he's never been, by the way. He's never been there. No. We went for a lovely meal last night in the Ivy, the original Ivy restaurant. Nice. And then followed up by a trip to the Pizza Express sort of jazz place.
They're pretty good for that, actually.
Where we watched the new Purple Celebration, so thank you very much for that. I was a bit the worse for wear, it has to be said.
I can't believe that, Michael.
I couldn't see them all the way to the end, but they're absolutely brilliant. And they've got some tickets left, still available at Ticketmaster, Shepherd's Bush Empire tonight. the new Purple celebration. Go along and see them. It's really, really brilliant. A fantastic sort of Prince tribute act. So please go and do that. Let's talk a little bit about finally the state of play back here in London, because we still have a difficulty, don't we, sort of dealing with public demonstrations, dealing with the way that the police are kind of being instructed to either arrest or not arrest people, depending on what they're doing. We're hearing that there's a new kids on the block, if you like, who are going to be doing some radical action over the course of the summer. They're kind of the new form of, Just Stop Oil, stroke Insulate Britain, stroke, Palestine action.
These idiots just move from one to another, don't they?
These like middle class, idiots. I want to use the word that begins with F and ends in T, but I can't because that would be wrong. But they're already planning to sort of have big demonstrations.
It's going to be summer of discontent and unrest.
These are the same people. I can't remember what their name is, but the same people that went to Tower of London the other day and chucked custard, over the crown jewels. We're going to have a lot of that, I think, coming up this summer. When are we ever going to see the end of that?
I don't know, Mike. And I mean, there was something else I heard the other day. There was, I think it was March for Jesus, or I can't remember what the group was, but they were told they couldn't protest or they couldn't do their march because it might put fear into the Muslim community. And I couldn't think of probably a more peaceful group that would actually be out on the street doing their thing.
So religious protesters.
Oh, for goodness sakes. And yet we are, yet the pro-Palestinian guys are allowed to do their nonsense, in the pro-Hamas groups. To be honest, I don't blame the foot soldiers, the police officers on the ground. They're following orders and they're being told what to do. So, there's some... And I think, again, it all circles back to Sadiq Khan. Even Mark Rowley, I've said this to you before, Mark Rowley is, he's a good commander-in-chief. But again, his hands are tied. And I think that, and the problem is we've got Keir Starmer, we've got Sadiq Khan, we've got all these people disruptors who, again, I was talking to someone about it the other day, Mike, I don't understand why they're allowing all of this nonsense to take place.
I know. Nonsensical. One final one for you, just came up on the screen there. Bus driver sacked for chasing after a thief and punching him. I mean, I don't know the exact details of the story, but obviously it's a story in London as far as we know. Surely, if you are a sort of vigilante type individual, you shouldn't lose your job over it, should you?
Well, okay, let's look at it in its very kind of impartial way. The problem is, it's like Tony Martin. Do you remember who shot the burglars?
I do.
And the problem is he got prosecuted because he shot them in the back.
Yeah, because they were running
away. So you can't
away.
claim self-defense if you punch someone in the back of the head or you shoot someone in the back or stab them in the back or whatever. So that's that fine line between what you can justifiably do to protect yourself to you red misting and deciding to chase after someone who's upset you and go and assault them. So, it's a really tricky one. It's circumstantial. It is also contextual as well. But again, fundamentally, if someone's facing the other way, you have a very difficult argument to place that you were defending yourself.
Very true. Will, great to see you, as
Thank
ever.
you, sir.
Will Geddes, man of mystery, man with many answers to many questions that you hadn't even thought of before you met him. And he'll be back, I'm sure, very soon, probably back on the old Plank of the Week at some point as well. Will Geddes says on his bio he's a cat dad. Must know what sort of cats and what are their names, says Jan. Most important.
2 Maine Coons.
I've met them. They're amazing, the cats, right?
You have met them, haven't you? I have 2 Maine Coons. One is Lord Waffle, and the other one is Mousalini.
Yes, Mousalini. And I think it was Lord Waffle that came and
he's big, cuddly boy, 10 kilos.
Shoulder.
He's a big lad.
He's huge, absolutely huge. And also, even more importantly, Will Geddes has got one of the most fantastic sort of rigs that I've ever seen in his house. Because you know how cats like I used to have a cat years ago in New York, and he would only drink from a tap. He wouldn't drink water from a bowl. He had to have the tap sort of constantly running. And you've managed to find this contraption,
cat fountain,
which is a cat
water fountain. So
the water continually just sort of,
they love it.
And
Waffle
amazing.
plays in it. Maine Coons love playing in water. So literally, I'll come back and the floor's covered in water. He's a hooligan, like his dad.
Amazing, amazing. And we don't even start talking about Will's car, which is like the Batmobile. I kid you not. Anyway, listen, he is the international man of mystery. He is a man who can tell you all about security in every part of the world and every part of the civilised world and the uncivilised world as well. Coming up, we've got much more to do. We will be hearing from Steve Lillywhite later on in the show as well, who is, of course, Grammy Award-winning producer of all sorts of bands, including U2, including Talking Heads, including the Rolling Stones. We're going to be listening to his tales of woe from Bali, which is where he now lives, very nicely indeed. And we'll be taking more of your messages, which are all coming in. My cat only reached 3.5 kilograms, says Oak Leaves. Phil says, I prefer big cats like lions. Yeah, but you can't keep one in London, can you? It's all very well. It is, of course, Friday. It is the 30th of January. We are very nearly in February. I can't believe
I know.
That's exactly what's happening. I've had some fun with coming to work day. What is it called? Having fun at work day, Pooch? Is that what it's called? And I've already coloured in Keir Starmer on that page. I put a moustache on him, which makes him look a bit more like somebody else from another time. There we are. Listen, coming up, let's get some news with Edward Hughes.
Why don't you relax and be a bit more MG? That would be a triumph.
Good morning, it's Friday 30th of January. I'm Edward Hughes and I'm living at large. Here is the news for today. Prime Minister Keir Starmer wrapped up a high-profile visit to Beijing, securing key deals with China, including visa-free travel for British citizens, up to 30 days, and tariff reductions on UK whisky exports. He thought it was high-profile. We all thought he looked like a weapons-grade weapon. He described the talks with President Jinping as a reset in relations, emphasizing economic benefits and market access, despite a sharp warning from US President Donald Trump, who called deeper UK-China business ties very dangerous amid his broader trade and containment stance toward Beijing. In domestic news, UK business confidence dipped slightly amid economic uncertainty. Are you listening, Richard III? Immigration officers faced court charges over allegedly stealing cash from small boat migrants. 5 former traders won the right to appeal historic LIBOR rate rigging convictions. Elsewhere, stroke cases are reportedly rising across the country, prompting health alerts. Weather-wise, much of the UK faces unsettled, wet and windy conditions today. A busy day in diplomacy and domestic headlines. Stay tuned for developments. Please remember to like and subscribe. Laters, Tigers.
Live studio, there we go. Coming up, we're going to talk to Hugh Andre from We Served. And Pooch, I've just sent you that thing that he sent me, so maybe you can have a look and see if you can get that. Life after service sorted. Hugh Andre, of course, a man who was in the armed forces and who now runs an operation called We Served. We're going to be talking to him very shortly about something that they're getting involved in, something that they want to expand upon. Very shortly, but we've got a little video, I think, haven't we, to play just before we talk to Hugh. Have a look at this. Are we there? Should I just talk amongst myself for a while? Here we go.
You served, and stepping into
That's a very handsome-looking young man there, walking towards the camera. That is, of course, a younger version of Hugh Andre, who's about to join us now, along with Ed McFarlane, who's head of healthcare and well-being at We Served. Hugh, a very good morning to you, and very handsome-looking young bloke. I mean, there was AI involved there, but you're looking very, very, very spiffing, I have to say.
A bit of getting used to, Mike.
Brilliant. It's a big day for you today. You've got some announcements to make for us. We Served is an organisation that you know as I do has been around for about a year now. Fantastic organisation that helps men and women from the military sort of re-assimilate themselves into civvy street, I suppose, for want of a better word. Getting themselves, set up with a new job, maybe with a new profession. But you're talking today about healthcare. You're talking today about the things that you're also doing for the military. Tell us about it.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Today's a big day for us because, as you know, a couple of years ago we surveyed 213,000 veterans and asked them what they wanted. You heard the strapline: when veterans support veterans, everything changes.
Yeah.
And that's what we're about. They told us that they needed employment, first and foremost, of course, which makes sense. Secondly, they wanted a secure community. They wanted a social media platform where they could reconnect, get into one another, have a bit of old military banter, etc., without, dare I say it, offending anyone. And next week that launches. So think Instagram meets Facebook, but for veterans. Today, however, is the big one. Today we release our healthcare and well-being platform. I was hoping that Ed McFarlane might be able to join us because here he is. I didn't want to
as if by magic.
Thunder. And Ed's done all the work, not me. So why don't I let Ed pick up here? Because as I said, it's the power of our team, Mike, makes it work.
Absolutely. Ed, very good morning to you. Welcome and thank you for joining us. You explained to us the last time you were on that you had a history of working inside the NHS, structuring various different kinds of healthcare. So tell us what you're doing right now for We Served.
Thank you, Mike, and good morning. And thank you for having us back on the show. So we are launching today the go live of the healthcare and wellbeing platform. We've split it into three distinct areas. So mental health, physical health, and preventative health, in order to make it easy to access. And over the coming weeks and months, we'll be adding more partners and to the sites in order to grow the service provision in each of those areas.
And that's going to be a huge help to so many people, isn't it? Because many of the veterans who come out of the military do have specific needs that need addressing when it comes to healthcare, perhaps because of an injury that they might have sustained or because of something that they might have seen or experienced.
Absolutely. And as Hugh has said many times, we can't boil the ocean in one go, but we're starting on the program, and we will build over time the platform, mapping all of the pathways that require support for veterans and their families over the coming weeks and months. And today we're launching three services within the platform. So within the mental health part of the platform, we're launching Wobble, which is a therapy support team of amazing therapists, over 100 qualified therapists in the UK, who can match the person's requirements to whatever their challenge is. And the great thing is it's a non-subscription service, so people can use it once or as many times as they want. And then secondly, we're launching the 24/7 GP access through the preventative health. But this not only gives you 24/7 access for you and 5 members of your family, it also gives you mental health and mental well-being support, an eye screening program, weekly well-being webinars, life coaching, and thousands of discounts into many different areas. And then thirdly, within our physical health, I'm delighted to be able to announce that the NHS Op Restore program are partnering with us. And you can now access Op Restore for physical health support through the NHS directly through our website once you've signed up as a veteran into the website.
Fantastic. Now, I don't know whether you know, but I've got to ask you about this because it's not related to We Served at all, but your wallpaper appears to be covered with herons. The heron is our kind of mascot here at the Mike Graham Show because, I did a bit of research into herons and discovered that when there was one sitting outside my flat in London, it was a sign of new beginnings. It was a sign of, absolutely brilliant sort of, all good things, really. So how come you've got herons all over your wall? That's our heron, by the way. That's our mascot.
I'm delighted by serendipity that we have herons together, and it is all about new beginnings. And my wife and I have always enjoyed watching herons fly and out on the mudflats. And here on Hayling Island, where we live, there are many herons out on the mudflats. I find them wonderful creatures, and I'm delighted, Mike, that we're all linked through the new beginnings.
Indeed, we are all on the same page. Hugh, let me ask you, how easy is it for people who are coming out of the military, if they haven't yet signed up to We Served, how easy is it for them to access all of this brilliant medical help that you're offering them?
Very easy, Mike. And may I just add as well, for the families of those serving, they can also access all of these products and services. Will you believe it, Mike, that our armed forces today, that their families don't get health well-being support? When we, Ed and I served, it was of course included, but unfortunately, due to funding or lack of, they go without. So this is not just available to veterans and their families, but also to the families of those serving. And of course, what it will also do is it will hopefully alleviate some of the stress and pressure on the NHS. I'm a big believer in collaborating public-private sector. As you know, we've taken no government funding. We've had no charitable donations. The whole We Served is driven purely by the sort of home team and veterans and private investors who believe in what we're doing. But this will make it far simpler, more efficient, and most importantly, it means that veterans can get the healthcare, the well-being support they need without having to waiting weeks, if not months.
That's brilliant. And I know that you guys are here to talk about healthcare and looking after each other and generally being good, but I can't let you go without asking you about the story of the week this week about Keir Starmer and the time that he spent in the early part of this century, 2008, working with a now disgraced individual trying to prosecute Iraq war veterans for war crimes which didn't happen.
Yeah, if I can pick up on that, because it was actually Rachel Webster who was featured in the Telegraph and has been in the media this week. Yeah. I've spent a lot of time with Rachel over the last week or so because she's been hugely upset, and it really has opened old wounds for her. To get a knock on the door at 6 a.m. and have half a dozen burly men charge through your door without an arrest warrant, bundle you in the back of a van without telling you where you're going.
Right.
4 hours, no loo break, no water, and then suddenly to appear in Portsmouth Naval Yards 4 hours later. She was held in a cell for 14 hours so she could be asked what she knew about someone else years ago. She wasn't even the focus of that investigation. I just find it highly duplicitous that we can have, a prime minister stand up singing the praises of the armed forces, etc., and then in the next minute, we're overturning the Northern Ireland Legacy Act, hounding innocent men and women, often years after they've left military service. I mean, I think it's enough said.
Indeed, and also particularly knowing what we know now about Keir Starmer doing it for free, suggesting that he wasn't only an enthusiast about it, but that he was a more than willing participant in kind of, you know, punishing, if you like, people who had simply been asked to serve their country, simply been asked to serve their government, and been asked to do the things that their superiors told them to do.
Yeah, and let's be very clear, Mike. No one is above the law, and that includes, you know, servicemen and women.
Yeah.
And if they break the law, they should absolutely be held to account.
Yeah.
But the whole affair with China, with my old colleague Brian Wood and the PWR, you know, the act of lawfare should be made illegal within the Armed Forces Bill. We cannot have ambulance chasing lawyers going after men and women who, frankly, they're not fit to lace their boots.
No, exactly right. Ed, let's finish up with you in terms of the available kind of assets, I suppose you might call them, from the healthcare sector to veterans. It's a national scenario, right? I mean, it happened. You can. Doesn't matter where you are in the UK, you can access all of these services.
Absolutely, Mike, and thank you. So to all those veterans who haven't yet signed up, it's very simple. Go to weserve.com, sign up, we'll verify you, add 5 members of your family, and you can access every service on the site. And Mike, if I may, healthcare providers, both in the private, public and charitable sectors, if you would like to be part of the movement, please get in touch with us at info@weserve.com. info@weserve.com, and we'll be delighted to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Not at all. Brilliant. And we've got some lovely messages coming in from all sorts of people all around the country saying very, very great news about what they're doing. 2 very great guests, Mike. This is lovely. Absolutely right. And of course, many people saying, you know, very well said, what we need is to collect all the veterans around us and look after them as best we can, because they deserve it. They've earned it, apart from anything else. I'm going to finish up with our heron of the day. Which is what we do. And people send in, I'm not joking, people send in pictures of herons
Brilliant.
every single day. Have a look at what we've got today. Check it out.
Brilliant.
Have we not got any? Where are the, we need to actually see the herons, you know. Pooch is slip it up here. Hang on, there we are. So we got one there. Morning beauty. Spot the heron on the River Ex yesterday. That's from Rishi. Zoom in. There's one in the middle there. Says Manda. There's a whole kind of community of people. One there from the Grand Union Canal, and another one there, I think, from I'm not sure where that is. From another canal, but anyway, they're all over the place, and so this is our sort of heron community. So Ed, I know you'll enjoy that. Hugh, you'll enjoy it as well. We'd love to see you guys in the studio when you're both in town. So let's try and do that, and let's try and organise a decent lunch or dinner or something next time you're around. Great
Absolutely.
stuff.
And I think Ed owes you a photograph now.
I'd be delighted. I'd be delighted. I'll find one on the coast and send it to you, Mike.
Yeah, send us in a heron of the day, and we'll post it next week. Brilliant. Good to see you.
so
Ed
much.
McFarlane, Hugh Andre, weserve.com is where you need to go to get your healthcare. If you've been in the services, you know you deserve it. You know these guys are going to look after you. Please go and get yourself sorted. Guys, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Mike.
Hugh Andre,
Mike.
Ed McFarlane, fantastic, absolutely brilliant. And We Served, a fantastic organisation which I've been supportive of since it ever began about a year or 2 ago. You know, there is no better method to help those people in the military. And isn't it right what Hugh said, that of course, if people have been in the military and have somehow broken the law, then they must, of course, have to answer to the powers that be and the authorities. But what an absolute scumbag Keir Starmer is, a man who has never served in the military, but who has very, very enthusiastically and happily chased after good men and women from the military, from the armed services, because he is obsessed with human rights. But funnily enough, not obsessed with the human rights of anybody in China. Let's have a look at what he said over in China, which is where he is now, sucking up to President Xi, one of the worst dictators the world has ever seen. Check it out.
We finished this morning's meetings and now I'm visiting the Forbidden City. Very good meeting with President Xi. where we agreed to strengthen our relationship, open up more opportunities for our businesses, for our culture and our sports. And of course, the key question always for me is, does this deliver back at home? And it's delivering business, wealth, prosperity and jobs. Not done yet. We've got more meetings here in Beijing today and tomorrow morning. Then we're off to Shanghai with exactly the same intention, which is to open up those opportunities.
I mean, I watch Keir Starmer with ever-growing revulsion. I don't know about you. I find him absolutely and utterly ghastly. I find him objectionable. I find him to be completely and utterly misrepresentative of this country. He doesn't have anything to say to me which I want him to say. Do you know what I mean? Carp and crap. 770 says this: how do you send stuff in? Actually, I'm glad you said that, because we've now got a PO box address, which I'm going to give to you. It's up there on the screen. Suite 19.6. Sounds very weird, that. Exhibition House, Addison Bridge Place, London, W14 8XP. United Kingdom. So that is Suite 19.6, Exhibition House, Addison Bridge Place, London, W14 8XP. I will post that on my Twitter feed, and I will also post it on my Facebook page as well. And frankly, I think if all of you can pass it on to each other, if you want to send us anything in, I know we've got somebody working on a plank of the week, actual piece of wood for us that's being done. And I know that many of you have got things that you want to send us in. So if you do want to...
I can play the plank.
Oh, right. And also we've got this lovely card from Margaret and Lisa Clements that came in yesterday with a heron, of course. The show has really taken off, she says. Margaret's 82, by the way. Wonderful woman. Sent us a lovely card and a couple of other bits and pieces yesterday. So do by all means send us whatever you want to send us. You know, try and keep it clean if you don't mind, and we will be able to address it. And if you want us to read anything out, you know, by all means do that as well. Right now, though, what I'd like you to think about, not just about Plank of the Week, which comes out tonight at 7 o'clock, but tomorrow on Saturday at 7 o'clock, we will be bringing you Plonk of the Week, which is me, Chris Walkie, his son Oliver, opening the Vino, and of course, because we filmed it yesterday in the company of Donald Cameron MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod, I think you'll enjoy it. Have a look at this.
Vicky Michelle.
Oh, he's gone rogue. He's opened one without the protective clothing on.
We're going to use this as a spittoon, so we're going to get any access in here, but so we make sure we don't drink that.
Okay then. So what is this now? This is another one that's same flavour.
So this is the same kind of label, but this is the superior quality. So what I'd like you to do is just see whether or not you notice a better quality of flavour. It's £14. We're jumping up a notch here from Majestic.
Is it slightly lighter as well in colour?
I don't know if it would be. It possibly could
Looks
be.
a little bit clearer.
I think under these beams of lights.
Here it is.
That one. That's good.
That one there. So slightly different. It's got Valdo Biadini, La Giosa, et Amorosa. He sort of
Did he do well?
No. I'm really embarrassed, you know, that I don't speak a foreign language properly, because I think we all should. I think we should. It's you know, it's one of those things that I always think. I did French at school and I did Latin. Hated Latin. French was all right, but I mean, we just don't learn enough foreign languages in this country, do we?
Well, I think everybody speaks usually English abroad, so we become lazy.
Yes.
When I travel, you know, the world tasting wines, most people do speak English, but I always thank somebody for speaking English. I said, I really appreciate I'm in your country and thank you for speaking in English, you know.
And I mean, whenever I go to Spain, I kind of remember some of the words and I can do a very basic kind of conversation in Spanish. I can order food, I can, you know, order beer.
Una cerveza,
please. I can do the same in France. I do the same. My French actually sometimes comes back to me. More quickly, because I suddenly then remember words that I didn't even know I remembered from, you know, from when I was at school.
You need to be there for a while, don't you? Once you're there for a while, it starts to hit.
Yeah, I just think we should be so much better at that in our schools, that we should teach kids, we should make them learn another language, you know.
Well, let's look at this wine here. Look, noticeably, you can see the bubbles there.
Yeah.
And look at the finesse of these bubbles. So already we're look, totally different
they're
style
smaller,
wine.
aren't
They're
they?
smaller. So
interesting.
It's in a different region, and it's a beautiful hilly region. They're hand-picked grapes as opposed to this.
That is actually quite a lot different, isn't it? Because you can almost taste the effervescence more.
Try another little piece.
Is it another bit of brie?
Another bit.
And there we are. That's obviously last week's edition, right? Not this week's. People are saying, "Where's Donald?" Well, Donald's in it, but he'll be in it tomorrow night. when you watch it from 7 o'clock. On the subject of Keir Starmer, Lynn says this: he's so thick he didn't realise how the Chinese treated him with disgust. No top rangers to meet him on arrival, nobody with rank showing him his tourist spots. They see him as pathetic. I think that's right. Sean says this: stop drinking, Mike, you look hungover. Why would I stop drinking just because you think I should stop drinking, Sean? Why don't you bugger off? This from Lord Viking. Cheerio, is this with Donald or not? Not. The wine tasting is one of the best things I've watched in ages. Hilarious, says Ron. Drink along, says Phil. Capricorn Moon says we'll start the party again. And Exorcism says he's mixed the wines. Somebody called Jen says you'd also need a contact email address. I don't know if we've got one of those, have we? Have we got a contact email address? Maybe not, but we will probably get one in due course. We are, as you know, we're building this channel. We're trying to sort of, improve it with every day that passes, and I think we have had some success with that. I'm delighted to say that this week we've got the biggest audience that we've ever had in week 4 of the show, so do pass on our best wishes to yourselves for watching, and if there are people who don't know that the Mike Graham Show is actually available, by all means do tell them, because I think more and more people... I ran into a guy last week on the tube, and I think I mentioned this before, who didn't realise that I was doing a new show. He said, I'm really sorry what happened. He said, I really miss you in the morning. I said, well, you do know I'm doing a new show now, don't you? And he went, no, I didn't know. I had no idea. And I think his name was Graham. And he went and subscribed, and he signed up to our YouTube channel. Well, here's an email address, studio@themikegrahamshow.com. I didn't even know we had that. Studio@themikegrahamshow.com. So you can send in emails there, and I'll read them out. What a great idea. Brilliant. A quick look at some of the papers before we go to Edward Hughes. Is that it, is what it says on the front page of the Daily Mail. Capitulation in Beijing. Sir Kowtow Starmer gave the go-ahead to China's Nest of Spies embassy, then flew 5,000 miles to suck up to them. Yesterday he announced deals so underwhelming that critics responded, is that all there is? Is that it? And I think it's a very good point. Front page of the Times on the subject of China says PM vows to build more sophisticated relationship with China. There's no doubt, is there, that Keir Starmer is possibly not only the worst Prime Minister we've ever had, but the worst negotiator that we have ever had. Because when he says he wants to have a more sophisticated relationship with China, he literally wants to bend over and get stooped by President Xi. I'm sorry to say it that way, and I know that some of you may find that a little bit distasteful this early in the morning. It's only 8:31. But that's what's happening. Britain has become a vassal state of China, right? Not only are we giving them a free embassy in which they can torture people and kill people without us knowing, right? 208 separate chambers underneath the streets. Abilities to spy on all of us, and without any recompense really being made to this government at all. Unbelievable. Their main story on the front page of the Times is the Iranian Guard Corps to be treated as terrorists by the UK. That's all about the IRGC. Apparently, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is going to be subject to a landmark law, which is going to be brought in, which will ban them from existing in this country. And that could cause all manner of different diplomatic rows. But according to the European Union, they were adding the IRGC to their list of terrorist groups alongside Al-Qaeda, Hamas and the Islamic State. And it's provoked a furious response from the Iranian foreign minister, who described it as a stunt that would be a major strategic mistake. Well, why do we care what he thinks? Why would we listen to some Iranian maniac who thinks women shouldn't be allowed out in public and shouldn't be allowed to show you their hair? Absolute plank. Judges rule, speaking of which, baldness is a disability for women. This is as a result of a VAT tax case, which was brought by the government against Mark Sharp and Glenn Kinsey, a former children's TV presenter and magician. I mean, who would want that as part of their CV? Apparently, he was wrongly charged 277,000 quid on sales of their Kinsey system wigs, for which they charged £2,400 as an annual fee for fitting and maintaining them. The world is a very weird place. Front page of The Sun has got a very different story. Gang raids Maya and Ruben's £4 million pad. This is Love Island host Maya Jama, Radio 1 DJ as well, and her footballer boyfriend Ruben Diaz have been left heartbroken after an away day gang ransacked their home in Cheshire. Apparently he was targeted by raiders who took jewellery, electronics and clothes. She was off filming Love Island in South Africa, and he was playing for Manchester City in Turkey against Galatasaray. That's not very good, is it? Revolt over cancelled elections is the front page of the Daily Telegraph. Apparently the government's plans have descended into farce as a whole string of councillors have resigned over the fact that people aren't allowed to vote in the May local elections, which is quite right too. And one of my favourite stories of the day, the Bayeux Tapestry, which is supposedly coming over here from France, insured for 800 million quid, paid for by you and I. Thank you very much indeed. Apparently the French are now saying the potholes in this country are so bad that they don't want to send it, because no matter if it makes it across the channel unscathed, because we've been told before that any kind of vibration which would affect the Bayeux Tapestry, whether it's in transit on a plane, whether it's on a train, whether it's on a boat, an oscillation of no more than about 1 or 2 centimetres could render it completely and utterly destroyed. They're now saying if it makes it to the UK, the fact that we've got so many potholes in the road could even destroy it further. So the French are now saying we don't actually want it to be sent to the UK because we don't trust the UK to make sure that it doesn't get completely and utterly ruined, which is not that surprising. Here's one from The Guardian, front page story saying a children's limb surgeon harmed 94 patients. Nearly 100 children were harmed by a Great Ormond Street surgeon, according to an independent review published yesterday. Great Ormond Street Hospital conducted a review of nearly 800 patients treated between 2017 and 2022 by the consultant orthopaedic surgeon Yasser Jabber, who specialised in limb lengthening and reconstruction. And so many children were actually harmed as a result of what he did, which is shocking, really, absolutely shocking. Great Ball of China is what it says on the front page of the Daily Star. The Daily Express goes with a completely different story. Sophie's plea. A terminally ill mum calls on shameless peers to stop blocking the assisted dying bill. The assisted dying bill, of course, has been in the news because there are so many different amendments that have been made to it in the House of Lords that there are fears that it will never get through Parliament, which means that it will never actually be focused and brought into law. So we remain unconvinced about that. We haven't really spoken about the assisted dying bill. I'm not keen on it, to be honest. I don't know whether you are, but we can talk about that another time. Coming up, however, Steve Lillywhite is going to join us after 9 o'clock. He's a super duper record producer, many Grammy Award winner. I think he's won 6 Grammys for his work with people like U2, the Rolling Stones, Talking Heads. We're going to be asking him about his new life now that he's settled down in Bali, but we'll get some great stories from him, from his tales of being a massively successful record producer. I saw him once in a studio in New York where he was recording a new album with U2, and it was quite a remarkable story. We'll get into that. Right now, though, shall we have some news with Edward Hughes?
Good morning, it's Friday 30th of January. I'm Edward Hughes and I'm living at large. Here is the news for today. Prime Minister Keir Starmer wrapped up a high-profile visit to Beijing, securing key deals with China, including visa-free travel for British citizens, up to 30 days, and tariff reductions on UK whisky exports. He thought it was high profile. We all thought he looked like a weapons-grade weapon. He described the talks with President Jinping as a reset in relations, emphasising economic benefits and market access, despite a sharp warning from US President Donald Trump, who called deeper UK-China business ties very dangerous amid his broader trade and containment stance toward Beijing. In domestic news, UK business confidence dipped slightly amid economic uncertainty. Are you listening, Richard III? Immigration officers faced court charges over allegedly stealing cash from small boat migrants. 5 former traders won the right to appeal historic LIBOR rate rigging convictions. Elsewhere, stroke cases are reportedly rising across the country, prompting health alerts. Weather-wise, much of the UK faces unsettled, wet and windy conditions today. A busy day in diplomacy and domestic headlines. Stay tuned for developments. Please remember to like and subscribe. Laters, Tigers.
Thank you very much indeed. Edward Hughes there with the news. We've got this from Gillies Span. Gillies Span? I don't know. It's a super chat. Can you not voice over Starmer like the mainstream media did with Sinn Féin in the 80s and 90s? The odious prat seriously raises my blood pressure. I mean, he really is very annoying. And as I said, he's kind of repulsive now in the way that he talks to the people of this country, as if we don't know what he's doing. He's gone off to China. And he's saying that he's done some great deals which are going to result in prosperity and jobs for this country. But in actual fact, There is no evidence of any of that. There's no evidence that he's going to create jobs. There's no evidence that he's going to create prosperity. And he's basically just telling flat out lies. We're going to speak to Anne Widdecombe in a moment about that. But let's have a look at what Zia Yusuf has got to say about Keir Starmer.
This is Keir Starmer. You probably know him as the most unpopular
Reform UK. Let's talk to Anne Widdecombe now about Keir Starmer and his trip to China and his hatred, it would seem, of our armed forces, certainly in historical terms. Anne, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the new Mike Graham Show.
Good morning to you and congratulations on the show.
Thank you very much indeed. Keir Starmer's gone to China. He's come out and said that he's creating jobs, he's creating prosperity. He wants a new kind of sophisticated relationship with the Chinese. Nobody's really buying that, are they?
Well, I'm certainly not buying it. I mean, the one thing that he has been very coy about, despite being pressed by the media, is any conversations they've had on human rights. Now, you know, if Jimmy Lai had been released while Keir Starmer was there, I would say, okay, you know, we've actually got some progress. As it is, we don't know what was discussed on human rights and what was said by China. And that, to my mind, is very important. Now, the trade is fine. You know, the trade is fine. I don't have a problem with that, but it isn't significant. You know, and okay, we can now go to China visa-free. I just hope the compliment isn't going to be returned.
Well, exactly. I mean, I don't know about you, Anne, but I don't particularly want to go to China. I don't care whether or not I have to get a visa or not get a visa. I don't really want to go. You know, there's just nothing there that interests me at all.
Well, hang on, the Great Wall, the Terracotta Army?
I don't know. I'm not interested. I mean, it's one of those places I don't particularly want to go. And it's of no benefit, I don't think, to most British people that you could now go visa-free. Similarly, reducing the tariff on whiskey from 10% down to 5% doesn't really make much difference, I think, to the whiskey industry. I very much doubt. And so the whole kind of exercise, it seems to me, is a love-in for Keir Starmer to try and sort of suck up to the Chinese, who are, let's face it, one of the world's worst dictatorships for human rights, and also for spying on the UK.
Certainly for spying on the UK. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I share most of the worry that reasonable people have about the size of the so-called super embassy that Keir Starmer is going along with.
Yeah.
But as I said, you know, I'm never against diplomacy. You know, I don't mind state visits. I'm not against diplomacy unless we're actually at war with somebody. But the big issue with China is what it is doing in human rights, and that is the one thing that we've been told nothing about from this diplomatic visit. Nothing at all. Just
No.
hear the way he has been stonewalling the press and saying, yes, we discussed it. Well, did they? And how vigorously did he discuss it? I wish he'd come out and said, I made extremely vigorous representations to China, and they know how the West, I mean, I don't even think it's just Britain, where they know how the West feels, blah, blah, blah. Didn't even do that. Didn't even do that. I suspect, I don't know, I wasn't there and nor were you, but I suspect that it was extremely tentative on his part.
Absolutely right. And I mean, let's face it, knowing what we know about Keir Starmer and knowing what we know about his kind of antecedents and what his belief system is, because we've just seen Zia Yusuf there talking about his rather enthusiastic pursuit of military veterans who he thought had committed war crimes, even though it turned out that they hadn't. You know, this is a man who is much more likely to be, shall we say, sympathetic to the Chinese way of life and the way of being than he is likely to be sympathetic to the United States of America. Donald Trump overnight has already said he has to be very careful because dealing with China is dangerous.
Yes, and I mean that is stating the obvious. I mean, Trump is stating the obvious there. Dealing with China is indeed dangerous. But turning to the veterans situation, I mean, what always struck me as appalling was that as a result of the Good Friday Agreement, people who had committed mass murder, IRA terrorists, were released under that agreement. And yet we still, decades later, persecute, I'm not even going to say prosecute, persecute people who were on the other side and who were doing our bidding, our government's bidding. And I think that is the most appalling aspect of this affair. And he obviously can't see that. And a lot of his party, not all, but a lot of his party can't see that. And that, I think, should worry everybody.
Yeah, absolutely right. Because as I say, I mean, you have to look at people. My father used to say this to me, and it was a very good kind of lesson in learning. You know, look at where people spend their time as opposed to what they say they do and where they want to spend their time. Look at where they actually spend their time. And Keir Starmer has spent his entire life really representing a whole litany of what you might call the enemies of Britain, people who would do this country harm, people who should have been locked up for many, many years before he actually represented them. And that's his MO. He's much more interested in looking after people who are, as I say, terrorists, criminals, people who have broken the law in this country, than he is about helping ordinary members of the public.
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody could really dispute that if you look at his history. But he is also extremely ineffective. I mean, not only is he poorly motivated, but he's very, very ineffective. This must be the worst prime minister that we've seen for a very long time. I think Theresa May was a bit worse. But this must be the worst we've seen for a very long time. And one of the big problems is a lack of resolution. He will say something, it will be opposed, he will reverse it. That isn't leadership. And I strongly suspect, therefore, that is why I say that in China, I suspect that his approaches were very, very tentative rather than standing up and offering some leadership.
Yeah. And I'm sure one of the things that President Xi will be congratulating him on is cancelling all the elections in May, because we're now looking at something like 4.5 million people unable to vote. Quite a lot of councillors now resigning as a result of what they're seeing. I mean, it's a shocking state of affairs, isn't it?
Well, it certainly is, but of course Reform is challenging it in the courts. Why isn't Her Majesty's official opposition challenge it in the courts? Is it because they're secretly quite pleased? Reform is actually supplying the opposition to this.
Yes.
Hideously undemocratic measure, and it will mean that in some areas of the country, people won't have been able to vote for who governs them locally for years, literally years.
Yes, indeed. And what's your take on the way that the Conservative Party is currently running itself? I mean, Kemi Badenoch keeps coming out with what sounds like good policy, but effectively they're sort of dead in the water, aren't they?
Well, I think what hasn't helped them now is that, of course, they've got this new group which dares to call itself Prosper UK.
Oh, God, yes.
Offers everything except prosperity. But its stated aim is to take the Conservatives back to what used to be called one nation Toryism,
Mm.
and to turn away from the right. Now, you've only got to look at the polls at the moment to see what the nation wants, and it wants the sort of firm policies that Reform are offering.
Yeah.
And yet this group wants to take the Tories back to those policies which created the mess over 14 years. And that says it all. A, it says they're divided. B, that undermines Kemi's authority. And C, of course, it means that you don't know what to make of them. And this is why I have steadily opposed any pact between Reform and the Tories, because you're not just linking up with their right wing, you would have to be linking up with this wet neoliberal rump which they've got, and which now is getting active.
Mm. I know. We've actually got a video that's just been sent in to us from Charlotte, our producer, from the Prosper UK party. But, I mean, anything that has Ruth, Ruth Davidson and Andy Street together, I mean, it looks like a bad sort of, Sonny and Cher tribute act, doesn't it?
Well, as I say, it doesn't inspire confidence, because what they're actually saying is, let's go back. Let's go back. Now, you go back to the last 14 years and the nation will say, no, thank you.
Right, exactly right. Let's have a look at something else which I think I'd like you to see, and this is Konstantin Kisin. I don't know if we can show this, Pooch. This is from Question Time last night, which I no longer watch live anymore because it's just not very good. But this is Konstantin Kisin from Trigonometry, a man who I'm going to be doing an interview with actually on Monday, because I'm going to go on the Trigonometry podcast. But this is Konstantin Kisin talking to Labour about what they've got wrong. Have a look. And there you have the public, even the Question Time audience, actually, applauding what Konstantin had to say. Douglas Alexander there, a former Blairite, a man who's still now back in the government, was shaking his head as if everything wasn't true. Everything that Konstantin said was true, wasn't it?
Yes. Absolutely true. I must say I admire that performance tremendously, because it summed up very pithily exactly what the problem has been with the country for a long time as far as migration goes.
Yeah.
And he is absolutely right. And yeah, I mean, I don't think I can add to that, quite honestly.
No, exactly. But I think, is there a kind of disconnect, do you think, between the brain of Douglas Alexander? He's not a stupid man. I mean, he's got a very good brain on him. He's worked in very different levels of government, but yet they sort of somehow have convinced themselves that it wasn't their fault, or that migration was a great idea, or that diversity is our strength. All of these kind of slogans they come out with to make out that what they did was actually improve the country, when it was the absolute reverse of that.
Well, that is why so many people on what is called the Red Wall are turning away from Labour, because Labour have let them down. Everybody can see that migration is out of control. You can see the boats coming in on a daily basis. We've had this farce recently that the one in, one out policy has resulted in more people coming in than have actually been sent out. So it's a very funny abacus that Keir Starmer is using if he calls that one in, one out. And people feel badly let down. And it isn't only about that either. I mean, this Chancellor, for example, is making life very hard for employers. And that, of course, means very hard for employment. And she's, attacking the pockets of the poor. And people can see that. They feel let down. They turn away. They want something new.
Yes, they really do. And what's your current sort of view on the whole Reform pact, the business of they've now got 8 MPs, which is quite a remarkable number considering where they started from. Are you happy with the way things are going at Reform? Are you involved any more than you were? Are you looking at possibly turning out as a candidate at some point?
No, I won't be a candidate. I mean, I'm 78 now. I would be 81 at the general election and 85 at the next general election, or even 86. I mean, forget it. It's not practical, it's not sensible, but I give them what help I can from the sidelines. Now, you mentioned, the Tory MPs who've been coming across. What I would say is this: we need experience. Everybody has said to us, yes, you've got great policies, but have you got the experience to put them through? And therefore, if you need experience, it follows as the night follows the day that you've got to get the people who've got that experience. And that is what we've been doing. We have been very careful. We have only taken from those who've got a proven track record of sharing our ideals. And I'm very, very confident that we've done the right thing.
Great to see you, Anne. Fantastic to talk to you, as ever, making an awful lot of common sense. A lot of people being very, very complimentary about you as well. And a couple of people pointing out that they're very fond of your Winnie the Pooh mouse mat sitting behind you, which very well spotted. I didn't even know it was there, but that, yeah. Is it a Winnie the Pooh mouse mat?
It is a Winnie the Pooh mouse mat. Yes, I didn't realise it was visible. Shows you should always check your background.
You should, absolutely right. Great to see you, Anne. Thank you so much. Anne Widdecombe there, making perfect sense. Absolutely brilliant woman. And isn't it a pity that she can't be a candidate? I mean, she's right to say, you know, if she's going to be 81, 82, she doesn't want to be a candidate at all. But what a magnificent woman, and with some magnificent opinions. Now, I'm going to seek the guidance of Pooch here. Yeah. Pooch, I don't know whether you've seen this super chat that's come in from Urban Detecting.
Yeah, I know.
Am I allowed to say that?
You can't say it, I'll put it on screen.
Okay, it says Keir Starmer's a... there it is. I can't read it out. I've been told not to by Pooch, the boss. Keir Starmer's a... thank you, Urban, for that. Rhymes with anchor, yeah. Butter. No. Now, lots of you have been in touch with some other really, really interesting comments as well over the course of the show about cancelled elections, about Starmer and his ridiculous pursuit of members of the military who he was very enthusiastic about trying to prosecute, even though they hadn't actually done anything. Absolutely disgraceful. The return of the sausages, says Eunice. Make Britain great again, vote reform, says Plant Seeds. Remember when out and about, call out socialists wherever you go, says Mr. Fish and Chips. And they broke the mould when Anne became an MP. She was and is great, says Ben. Lots of you saying good things about her. Cindy says Anne really cares. She really does. What a terrific woman, says Jeff. And long live Anne and her grounded opinion, says Jill. Anne is great, says Vickles. Ask Anne about her most famous quote, says Mr. Fish and Chips. I don't know what that would be. She's gone now anyway. Coming up, we're going to talk to Ralph Schulhammer, who's got lots and lots to say. Mike's back, baby, and Dr. Hillary is reading the news, says Steve. That's a super chat. I don't know about that. Dr. Hillary reading the news. Also, another one from BGT 54. Ronald Reagan was 77 when he was president and for prime minister. Reagan was a great president, by the way. I moved to America during the time of Reagan's first term, I think it was. I went there in back end of 1983, 84. And he, of course, was elected in 1980. I remember that because my then girlfriend, who I later married, wore a black armband for a year. I'm not joking. She hated him so much. You know, she's still mad. Never mind. Anyway, listen, coming up, Ralph Schulhammer will join us. Also, before we do any of that, why don't we play the man making the plank for me? Shall we have a look at that just before we go to Ralph? Check this out.
Oh, shit, sorry.
Can we do that?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, you can't swear. Pooch is swearing now. You just told me not to swear. I can't read out a word, and he's now swearing. Amazing. Coming up to very nearly 9 o'clock, Steve Lillywhite going to join us, of course, very shortly as well, to talk to us about his career in the music business. Have we got the plank or not? Should we just forget that idea? It's coming. I'm sure it's coming. This is a friend of ours, Rachel, who we interviewed a while ago. She's got a friend. She's obviously suing the NHS because of the way that they treated her mother. And we'll get an update from her, in fact, on that soon. And her lovely daughter, who loves watching the show. So very, very happy Friday to both of you. But she's also got a friend who's making a plank for us. Have a look.
Started it. It's now blackening it all in. Then I'll add the trademark sign up in that corner. And I'll get it varnished tomorrow. And yeah, hopefully that'll be good. Plank of the week. Just hope it ain't me, eh?
Plank of the week, brilliant. Let's talk to Ralph Schulhammer now about what the state of play actually is. Ralph, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. Good to talk to you again. Happy
Yeah,
that
good.
we're making this a regular thing.
Yeah, not at all. Absolutely great to see you. Let's talk about Keir Starmer in China, first of all, because nobody knows why he's gone there. He seems to think that it's a good idea. Everybody else is going, including Donald Trump, who says it's dangerous to deal with these people. He seems to be sucking up to President Xi in the hopes that China sort of won't squash us like a fly. But of course, he's wrong, isn't he?
Well, I mean, in defense of Keir Starmer, compared to the German foreign secretary, at least Keir Starmer gets an appointment in Beijing and can go there, whereas the German foreign secretary had to cancel his trip because nobody in China wanted to meet with him. So I think you can put that on the positive side for Keir Starmer's attempt. No, I mean, there is this. There's a certain childishness to this because, and maybe there's also some fault with the Americans. I'm not denying this. There is this idea that you can somehow, flip the bird to Donald Trump if you meet with the Chinese and say, oh, we're going to do all these great things with the Chinese. But I mean, this was the experience of Mark Carney. If you try this, then Donald Trump is going to come down on you very, very hard and you have to retract. So, I mean, I understand. Listen, it's not a stupid idea to talk to these other great powers. I think that is important. But on the other hand, that is always the big issue for Keir Starmer. And by the way, this is also the big issue for the continental Europeans, where I have another story to tell you in a second.
Okay.
It's time to do your homework domestically and at home. All the problems Britain currently has, and that also refers to the clip you played of Konstantin Kisin and Douglas Alexander. These are homemade issues. You need, and I'm speaking here also about the Europeans or the continental Europeans. We need to get our house in order. This idea that we can play, great power politics when we are in fact not even having a seat on the table. We are a piece on the board. And I think it's very inverted priorities that we see with many European leaders. And this is my keyword. The head of the quote-unquote European conservatives, Manfred Weber, has now suggested that what Europe would truly need is an EU super president. So, somebody who would be the member of the European Council and the European Commission folded into one. And because then Europe would have one voice. And here comes the really great part of what he said. He said, and this will, hold on to your seat. This will be necessary because it is possible that within the member states, there might be results of elections that we don't like. So you need some superpower guy in Brussels that then can do whatever he wants in order to basically, nullify whatever the European people voted for. I mean, some of these guys are literally crazy, and girls as well. Like if you look at Kaja Kallas and Ursula von der Leyen, they're insane. I'm sorry to say that. They're certifiable insane.
No, they are. And well, we've seen it in this country. We've got Keir Starmer, who seems to think there's nothing wrong with just completely and utterly abandoning elections. Not only in various different local council elections that they're doing in May, but also when Andy Burnham decides he wants to run in a by-election, he says, no, you can't do that. And he just bans him from doing it. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have to, Andy Burnham, I guess, would be another interesting conversation to have about, let's say, the lackluster investigations into grooming gangs and other things.
Yeah.
But I think there are worse things going on in the UK at the moment, which is, the abandonment of jury trials.
Right.
I mean, this is there are, and I don't want to exaggerate this point. People use the fascist card way too quickly. But I think to talk about let's call it a soft authoritarianism that comes under the guise of defending democracy or defending common sense or whatever you want to call it. That is happening. This is very difficult to deny. And what I find even more worrisome is the condescension towards one's own people. Again, I refer to the clip you played before of Douglas Alexander. I mean, these people, they are dripping with condescension towards the very people they are supposed to represent. And this is not healthy. And this is what I always say, listen, I like democracy as much as the next guy. But I'd rather have, at least hypothetically, a monarch or even, a dictator, if you want, will have the sense that those in charge actually care about me than having people who are quote unquote democratically elected, but who don't who don't care about me the least bit, who'd rather have, per year 50,000 illegal migrants come to the UK that you then house in 4 3-star hotels, whatever. And if somebody even has the slightest criticism of this, you say, oh, you must be a bigoted, racist, quasi neo-Nazi. Again, I'm exaggerating here slightly with the dictatorship kind of point, but you know what I mean.
No, I do. Because, I mean, the bottom line is, of course, and I used to say this about the NHS during the COVID crisis, right, whatever you may want to call it, is that the NHS would rather you weren't ill. They would rather you didn't ever go to hospital. They would rather you didn't, make their lives miserable by having to turn up at the doctor's appointment because actually, they haven't really got time to see you. In the same way, these politicians now that we have would rather that you didn't actually vote. They'd rather that you didn't actually have an opinion, and they would like to just be able to rule for the rest of time without ever being challenged.
You're absolutely right, and I think this is one topic that, in my opinion, is underappreciated. One of the consequences of our current political class is that they more or less throw the entire, let's say, the native population in a constant condition of anxiety and quasi-neurosis. I mean, this is also unhealthy. If you no longer feel, at home, safe, whatever you want to call it, in your own country, if you're not sure about the future of your children, if you're no longer sure about your own future, and I'm not talking about the usual risks of daily life, let's say a sense of malaise, right? This feeling that everything is getting worse. This is also a health issue. When this is an unhappy population is an unhealthy population, and let's be completely honest about this. This unhappiness is, to a large part, the result of policies that are pursued by the Keir Starmers, by what was it, Carte Noire, my Bête Noire, Ed Miliband, but of course also their counterparts in continental Europe, and of course also in the United States.
Yeah, well, I mean, you tweeted just a couple of days ago about the new EU deal with India, which is similar to the one that Keir Starmer did with India last year, in which basically it facilitates the movement of students, researchers, seasonal and highly skilled workers into the EU. We've actually done a deal with India which allows Indian companies to employ Indian workers in Britain, undercutting the cost of employing British workers in order for Indian companies to get a tax break to make more money for India.
It's even worse. I mean, the migration part is already crazy, but there is another completely insane thing. So India gets a lot of cheap energy from Russia. So what's going to happen is that you will have British and European companies going to India, producing there with cheap Russian energy that we ban from Europe, and then exporting back to Europe and start producing it in Europe.
Right.
The suicidal path in the UK and in the EU. I mean, historians, when they will, work through the rubble of what once was our civilization, they will be astounded how much of the problems we have done to ourselves. Like every single problem is, I would say, in the area of 90%, the consequence of what we have done to ourselves. None of this would be necessary. None of it. They do, and maybe next week we can talk in greater detail why they do it, but it's completely absurd.
Yeah, it really is. And it doesn't seem to end, does it? I mean, despite the warnings, despite the difficulties, despite what we know about Britain changing as we watch it change, similarly with France, similarly with Germany, similarly with Italy, as we see the demographics changing, they don't seem to realise that they're causing it and that actually it's not getting any better.
And I think I can tell you the reason why. Because if we go back to 1968, right, to Enoch Powell's famous Rivers of Blood speech, what you can see is, and this is what all of these people on the top hate, that the average British dock worker, like the average British mom, like all those people already said in 1968, Enoch Powell was right. There is too much migration. We feel like we're losing our country. And they said for 60 years, oh, no, this is not happening. You're wrong. And now it turns out that they were right. And this is what they hate the most, that the very people they despise turned out to be right. And I think this is why they are doubling down on all these failed policies, because they cannot admit that the average English and the average British actually got it right. And all of these other guys and girls with their degrees and university and whatever it is, they were wrong. And this is why they're doubling down. This is a quasi-religious, if you want, fervor. So the more it turns out that they're wrong, the more they double down on it.
Yeah. Well, we've got a Prime Minister, and we've been talking about this today, who is much more at home prosecuting members of the armed forces for imagined war crimes which they didn't commit, and doing it for free because he was so happy to do it and so enthusiastic to do it that he would rather do that than represent the people of this country.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. I mean, we have a significant lack of true representation at the moment. It is, and sometimes I feel like this is the odd thing. There are so many things 5 years ago I would have myself said that are conspiratorial. But they are true. I mean, again, if you look at the UK, if you look at UK industry, if you look at UK domestic politics, the same, and I always when I say the UK, I include continental Europe in these areas as well. I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, I honestly do not know. The only reason why I say it's not a conspiracy, because it is out in the open. I mean, this is the one thing, as you said, I mean, if you look at how people like Keir Starmer, like Douglas Alexander, like, von der Leyen, like Kaja Kallas, like Emmanuel Macron, I mean, nobody can claim that they didn't tell us what they truly think. So this is the other thing. So because I very often get emails where say, who is pulling the strings? But overall, I think they honestly, I wouldn't say they believe it. As I said, it's a certain arrogance, right? Imagine yourself, like you think you're smarter than anybody else. And then it turns out that you're completely wrong. From a purely psychological perspective, what are you going to do? Will you lay back and say, okay, I, despite considering myself so much smarter than everybody else, was wrong, and the other guys whom I thought were stupid were right? Or will you say, no, it's not me. It's you guys who are actually the idiots, and if you would just be different, then everything would be fine. And this is what they do, right? Look at every migration debate. It always then boils down to, well, if only the British would be more welcoming. If only the Austrians would be more welcoming. If we would only open, our purses, our hearts, and our hotels, everything would get better. But this is, of course, not how it's working, because your viewers, the average, the native British people, they were, of course, absolutely right.
Yeah, extraordinary. Ralph, great to see you, as ever. Thank you very much indeed
Thanks,
for joining
Mike.
us.
Thank
Ralph
you so
Schulhammer. Somebody said to me, can you please ask him, as he goes, to say, I'll be back. Can you say, I'll be back? They'd love it.
Mike, I'll be back.
Brilliant. He wants one more. You want another one? One more time, please.
Okay, I have to get to the chopper, but come with me if you want to leave, and I'll be back.
Brilliant stuff. Ralph, thank you very much indeed. Ralph Schulhammer, reporting in from Austria. This one from Bags, who says this on the super chat. He says, Mike, I just had a terrible thought. Who's going to present when you're on holiday or ill? No more holidays, I'm afraid, and don't be ill. Well, do you know what? I mean, I think both Pooch and I have already said this, that, we don't really know what we'll do if one of us can't make it in the morning. I think we've managed to get Charlotte to have a sort of, we hope, a sort of a remote setup if Pooch doesn't make it in one day, but he's told me he's never going to miss a show. I don't know what I'm going to do. I think what we're going to have to do is go on holiday together, basically, and do shows from wherever we are while we're on holiday. I think that's what we're going to end up doing. Yeah, it'll be like, for those of you who remember this old adage, it'd be like Morecambe and Wise, where they used to be in bed together, but not in that way, obviously. It's not that sort of show. And they would just sit there, with their dressing gowns on and chat to each other, and then they'd get up in the morning, have their toast, have their tea, and all the rest of it. Simon sent us a super chat. Thank you very much indeed for that, Simon. Steve Lillywhite coming up very shortly from his beautiful place in Bali, where he's now spending all of his time. He's going to talk to us about his incredible career as a Grammy Award-winning record producer, working with the likes of U2, Talking Heads, Rolling Stones, Aretha Franklin, all sorts of people that you would not believe that he's worked with. And coming up, that's what we're going to do. But before that, why don't we have a listen to this? This is Keir Starmer, because I think we just need to remind ourselves of what a plank Keir Starmer is. This is him talking about his meeting in China.
We finished this morning's meetings and now I'm visiting the Forbidden City. Very good meeting with President Xi, where we agreed to strengthen our relationship, open up more opportunities for our businesses, for our culture and our sports. And of course, the key question always for me is, does this deliver back at home? And it's delivering business, wealth, prosperity and jobs. Not done yet. We've got more meetings here in Beijing today and tomorrow morning. Then we're off to Shanghai with exactly the same intention, which is to open up those opportunities.
We seem to, here we are. Keir Starmer, what an absolute plank, right? He's gone to China. He says he's going to create jobs. He's not. He says he's going to create prosperity for Britain. He's not. He says he's going to bring back all sorts of good news. He's not. I don't know what he's doing there. According to the Daily Mail today, Sir Kowtow Starmer gave the go-ahead to China's Nest of Spies embassy, then flew 5,000 miles to suck up to them. Yesterday, he announced deals so underwhelming, his critics responded, is that it? Well, you may well ask. I'll tell you a man who has achieved much more in his life than Keir Starmer has. Mr. Steve Lillywhite joins me from Bali. Steve, very good morning to you, sir.
Hello, Mike. Great to speak to you. Great to
great
see
to
you.
see
You're
you.
looking well.
Yeah, listen, I've lost 20 kilos since last year. I've got a personal trainer. I'm not going to say I've given up the booze because I know you did, but I'm trying to behave myself slightly better than I did. And we're loving it. We've got an independent show. We've gone out on our own because that's the future. I've stopped working for megalomaniac media conglomerates. I've started my own. So I just thought, haven't spoken to you for a long time. We've got loads to talk about. And this is the part of the show where we talk to guys like yourself about your life, about your kind of interests, about what you've been up to. You've been living now in Southeast Asia for what, a couple of years, 3 years, maybe more?
11 years in Indonesia. Yes.
Wow.
11 years 8 years in Jakarta,
Right.
and now 3 years in Bali.
Yeah.
And I've built the wonderfully titled The Lily Pad,
Yes.
which is my that's my house. And I'm loving it. Pretty much retired.
Yeah.
But I'm a Brit. Obviously, I mean I'm forever watching Chelsea, checking the British news and seeing how things are back home. But life is good here. It's it's the rainy season at the moment, so.
Right.
But it's either hot and wet or hot and dry.
Yes, and it must be lovely actually to live in that part of the world where so much is sort of as you see it, right? And you're living in Western Europe at the moment. It's not much fun. Things are getting very, very pricey. Houses are impossible to buy, impossible to sell. Taxes are going up. I mean. Last time you and I saw each other was in Electric Lady Studios in New York when you were making, I think the last but two album for U2.
With U2, yes, that was wow. I remember that.
Yeah, and you were kind enough to introduce me to The Edge, who I've never forgotten. I still tell the story of how I walked into the room with you and The Edge, and he started playing me a song which was called Landlady, and he said to me, "What do you think of that?" And I went, that's quite good, actually. I was absolutely bowled over. It was amazing.
Yeah, it is funny because they're always asking, that sometimes U2 would have fans standing outside the studio in the pouring rain, waiting just to get a glimpse of them. And sometimes Bono would invite them in to come and listen and then actually say, what do you think? Well, the fact is, they've been standing out in the rain. They're in there with Bono. I mean, are they ever going to say, I don't like it?
I don't like it. Yeah, exactly.
But everyone needs a pat on the back.
Of course. Are you still working with anyone at the moment musically, or are you? I know what you were doing was you were sort of promoting some local bands in your neck of the woods, weren't you?
Yeah, I was doing some stuff in Indonesia. Now, I mean, my days seem to be filled up with, I'm doing a fair few podcasts. I come in and talk to you. I'm filming my own documentary, which a friend of mine, I mean, it's been going a couple of years now. I think he has something like 70 hours of me talking about my life. He's now going to chop it all together. We're going to try and get a deal with, say, Netflix or something like that.
Right.
Because I've started the book 3 or 4 times, and the book it hasn't sounded right. I think I'm best when you can see my hands and you can hear how I'm talking. Oh, look, there I am. Just me. So that's what I've been doing, this documentary, and it's going pretty good, I think.
Well, that will be fascinating because, I mean, you have done some incredible things in your life. I mean, I tell people stories about you, from time to time. And I remember when I spoke to you about Glastonbury once and you said, there's only one way to go Glastonbury, which was the way you did it, which is to fly in a helicopter, produce U2, spend the night on the tiles with a couple of characters and then helicopter it back out again, right?
It's the only way to do it. That's glamping to the X degree.
Right.
But, I mean, I've known you since you were doing the night show on Talk Sports. And I would be one of the few people listening because it was early in the morning for me with you and you and Mike Parry. And,
yes.
And I don't know, on Twitter, I said hi, and you said, "Oh, Steve Lillywhite, great." So
Well,
I
no,
became
because I
the
thought
sort of-
when you first got in touch with me, I thought it was a spoof. I thought it can't be the Steve Lillywhite because I mean I go all the way back to I've still got the album, the vinyl album of Eddie and the Hot Rods, which you
Oh my
produced.
God.
You know, the one with with the noose and all that. And I thought it can't be this. It can't be that Steve Lillywhite. Surely to Christ, you know. And it turned out it was.
Yeah, and we've been mates ever since, and it's great to see you flying the flag for all things controversial.
Indeed.
And you own the word. You own the word plank now, don't you?
We do. And of course, you know, you and I, and also the good thing about you as well, because you're of that age and you come from the same place as I do, we don't probably agree on most political things at all. You know, you probably would regard most of my opinions as abhorrent, you know. but the fact is...
but, you know, but
the fact is we get
thing
on.
is, of course, and I think that's what you have to have
Mm.
more of in the world is, you know, you can have your different opinions and, you know, but if you don't have conversation with people, it's not good. And we need to bring, I was in Australia recently, and one of the good things about Australia is they don't seem to have that division within their
Right.
society.
Mm.
They're all very proud to be Australian.
Right.
You know, and there's a sort of unity that they have there. And I think in Britain, we do need somehow to bring everyone together. And, you know, one of my favorite sayings is, sometimes it's better to be nice than to be right.
Yes.
You know,
and
and
I think that would apply to America as well, because, you know, my sister lives in Connecticut, and at the moment she's under about 3 feet of snow, which is quite remarkable. But it's the same there. You know, she's always been a sort of Democrat in her kind of, you know, political leanings. But even she is sort of despairing of the way that the country is so divided. You know, if you're on the left, you hate everybody on the right. If you're on the right, you hate everybody on the left. It's a shame, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, in America, it does seem right now, it seems like it might be turning into a little bit of a tipping point. And you know, because America in general, they don't believe in big government. And if they see big government going into people's neighborhoods, you know, whether it's left or right or whatever, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you don't like seeing like the secret police coming to your neighborhood. So I think Trump's going to have to pull back a little bit. And you know, and he's not a fool. He knows when things go too far.
Yes, no, I think that's right. Let's talk a bit about your career in the music business, because you recently, or again, I mean, the trouble, you know, I don't know if you find this, but, you know, I just said to you how long we known each other. You said 11 years. I'm like, crikey. It seemed like a couple of years ago when you, I think, announced that you were going to sell off your sort of ownership to a bunch of songs and all of that music, and so your sort of catalogue, if you like, is now available to others. How did that happen? And tell us about that.
Well, there was a time about 3 or 4 years ago when, you know, it used to be vinyl, then it used to be CDs, and then downloads, and now it's streaming. It seems to be, until Elon Musk finds a way of implanting something in your brain, streaming seems to be the way that people are going to be getting their music. So, so therefore, there's a sort of trickle of money that comes through. So these big corporations can want to buy up the future. They look at it as an investment. So, you know, Bruce Springsteen sold the futures of all his records, and in a way, you know, for me, it was a good thing to do, because once I die, you know, all my kids, it's so complicated because I've done so many records, and I have a penny on this record and 5 pence on that record.
Right.
You know, it's pretty crazy. I've been very lucky, you know, but for me, it seemed like a much better proposition to be able to give all that collecting to someone else and to just say, okay, you know, give me a nice check. I'll build my house in Bali, and that's really where I am. It's you know, it wasn't you know, it was a lot of money to some people, but for them, you know, I've done some very successful records, so so I'm quite happy with how it turned out.
Sure. And have you got a favourite record? I know it's a bit of a sort of a cheesy question, but have you got a favourite album that you produced?
Well, I suppose my history with U2 has been so long that you know, and I've known them since I was 23 when I first worked with them, and Bono was 18. So I've sort of seen them go from men to grown-ups to middle-aged men. To, you know, so you know, I loved New Year's Day. I loved Vertigo with them, but you know, Fairy Tale of New York. You know, because we've just got past the Christmas thing. Everyone, you know, everyone loves that song. It's an absolute banger, you know.
It is. I mean, and there was a funny story. I don't know if I told you this before, but there was one year when they decided to re-release the words and change them slightly because, you know, they didn't like the word faggot appearing. And I actually went to bat for them and said, this is absolutely ridiculous. Outrageous. Of course they can use that word. What's the problem? And they ended up blocking me. The Pogues actually blocked me on Twitter. I was like, hang on a minute, I'm supposed to be like, I'm defending you. You know, well, there is that wokery, you know, honestly, thing.
Yeah, when we did that song in 1986, there was never any question. No, there was a gay guy in the band.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's not like he never came up and said, I think that's a bit iffy.
Right.
You know, no one ever said anything. No. And okay, but what happened was about 10 years later, it was a hit again, like it always is. But the Pogues were not together. So Kirsty and Shane did a Top of the Pops. Yeah. This was at the point where it was just tipping a little bit on that word. Yeah. And so they said, is there anything else you can do? So for one take only, Kirsty sung You're Cheap and You're Haggard.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, to be honest, just as good.
Fine.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, it's fine. But to get it on the radio, what the BBC did, which was very clever, they went back, and because by the point that they wanted to change it, Kirsty had already been killed, so they couldn't redo it. So they went to this Top of the Pops live vocal, and they took her vocal from that. They joined it on to the record. So it, you know, she never sung it like that. She sung it one time only, about 20 years after the record was out. You know, but the funny thing was, for a while it became that the original lyric was on Radio 2, and the woke lyric was on Radio 1. That was a sort of weird thing that Radio 1 used to, you know, in those days, Radio 1 used to be the cutting edge.
Yeah.
Radio 2 was supposed to be for the old farts.
Exactly.
It sort of switched it around.
Right.
I mean, the fact is, yes, it can be a derogatory, you know, calling someone a faggot is not the nicest thing in the world, but I think it's all about context.
Yes.
You know,
well, I was educating my son, who's now 19, on actual faggots that you can buy in a supermarket, you know, because he was like, what? I was like, yeah. You can, you know, they still sell them as kind of, you know, like English meatballs, horrible things, right? But you know, he was going, I have no idea, literally no idea. I've got to ask you about the football. Chelsea sitting currently in 5th place. I guess the funny story of the year is Man United, isn't it?
Oh, it is funny, and you know what? How much I hate Man United, and I know you are secret. You will never admit this on air, Mike Graham, but you have admitted to me privately that you are a Man United fan.
Yes,
but you
won't.
But you'll deny it now to me because you know you are a great one on the fence. You know.
Yeah.
But you know what? They have had such a terrible time. So to see those last 2 games. But my question is to you: do you think Ruben Amorim saw that first game against Man City? Do you think he watched it, or do you think he was too sad to? Because I mean, if it was me, I would never have watched it because I mean, it's just absolute proof that he was wrong.
Yes,
because you know.
But it's hard to believe, isn't it? I mean, the great thing about football, and I don't talk about it much on this show, but I'm going to do it now because you're here. Football is so incongruous. You can't explain it. There's nothing that you can explain how you go from a team under him who were useless to suddenly the team that's just beaten Arsenal, just beaten Manchester City, and appear to be now sitting in 4th position, Champions League, likelihood. You can't explain it, can you?
It's all to do with heart.
Yeah.
It's all to do with, when they say the goalposts are wider for the home team, it's pretty much, but it's not just that. It's that feeling. We all have this thing when things are going well, we feel stronger, we feel bigger, we feel more confident. And that's a manager's job, is how to deal with these people. And, oh boy, I'm not a Man United fan, obviously, and I would love them to lose this weekend to Fulham because, of course, Chelsea have to beat West Ham. But well done. I love to see things change. And the Premier League is such a wonderful, you don't know what's going to happen. It's great.
It is great. And finally, because we're going to run out of time, it's great to see you, by the way, and you're looking really well. Yeah. We should do this on a more regular basis. But anyone that you didn't ever work with, you pretty much work with everyone in the music business. From Keith Richards to Aretha Franklin to, U2 to Eddie and the Hot Rods, Talking Heads, all of that. Anyone that you didn't work with that you wish you had?
Okay, well, the question has two parts. Very quickly, it's like, when in their career, let's say David Bowie was still alive today. I probably wouldn't want to work with him now. Right. Would I have wanted to work with David Bowie back in the 80s or the 70s? Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. For me, he was one of the great artists and creative people.
Yeah. He was. I love. And his legacy is amazing, isn't it? And funnily enough, he was one of the first people to sell the rights to his music to a company, wasn't he? He saw that coming.
He was very visionary in a lot of things. He was a very clever guy. Well, you look fantastic, Mike.
Listen, I'm so pleased to talk to you, to catch up with you, because we've missed each other for a while. But so we'll do it again soon. Enjoy what time is it in Bali now? What are you going to do next?
In Bali, it's 5:30 in the evening. My son from New York is over here, so I'm going to sit and watch sunset with him and have a cup of tea and. It's wonderful.
Brilliant.
Life is good.
Brilliant.
Mike, congratulations on the new show.
Thank you.
If you need me for anything, give me a shout. And
I will.
I'll speak to you soon.
Absolutely. Steve Lillywhite, what a fantastic man. Brilliant to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Steve Lillywhite reporting in there from Bali, where it's 5:30. Right now here it's 9:30, and the show is pretty much over. But before we go, we've got to give you the poll, because we ran the poll today on your favourite testicleless world politician. And it has to be said, Giorgia Meloni actually comes up quite well, 21%. Marine Le Pen, 9%. Melania Trump, 4%. Keir Starmer, though, has come out the clear winner with no testicles, no balls, and 66% of the vote. So well done, Sir Keir. You've won another vote. I don't think you'll be too happy to put it on your wall, though, will you? But Mrs. Keir Starmer might like to, because she's the one that knows you haven't got any balls. This is, of course, the Mike Graham Show. We've been here all week, and we will be back next week for week 5 of the most successful breakfast show in the history of breakfast shows. Plank of the Week tonight, 7 p.m. Tomorrow night, Plonk of the Week, don't forget, with Donald McLeod and Chris Walkie, and some rather nice sparkling wines, and one or two not so nice ones. Have a fantastic weekend. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sending all your super chats in. Thank you for being loyal. Thank you for being so trusting of me. And thank you just for being, to be honest. And if you want to send us anything in, there we are. Look, Pooch has put it up. If you want to send us anything, here's the new address. Suite 19.6, Exhibition House, Addison Bridge Place, London, W14 8XP. I'm Mike Graham, signing off for the weekend. We'll see you later on with Plank of the Week, and I'll be back live 7 a.m. Monday morning. Cheerio.